Why? Why would you?
I'm good here, thank you.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
his baby was born. I know, I said, oh, so cute, I know.
It just wasn't, it just hadn't like gelled into like a movement yet. I know that
Would you be willing to?
several people talked to Ace
Yeah,
about it.
well, he's a main,
Yeah, that's where we first met.
he's a
is
main
it?
guy.
Yeah, at Ace Hardware. Yeah.
After 3 years? Sits down.
That's from some ages ago.
Yeah,
I think you're right, the time is now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In fact, I met with Wendy.
I know who you're talking to.
That's right. I think she works, somehow works for the state government.
Sure, sure.
Filling in on that. And it's an overwhelming opportunity. I almost don't know where to turn.
And you talked to Sarah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I connected him with Sarah.
Sarah.
Yep, the sustainability, and I mean, he came and we talked, and I was like, this is your lady. If you want somebody from the city, this is your lady. And so he said, she's on top of it. I said, I told you, she's a good one. Yeah.
You know, when I see his best friend and said, would you mind saying I was at the service? And this best friend said, if I can hit service, he goes, stands up, says,
Doesn't stop.
sits down.
They were all,
Afterwards,
they would have been.
Yeah, good, good.
Knock on wood.
C3.
Oh, that's so good.
Big step.
I love a good pun. I love it all. A good dad joke.
Yeah, I think, we considered it at Garna, like, but there just wasn't the capacity. And so it makes sense to, because she was probably like, yeah, yeah.
You're gonna make it.
And you're just coming to.
Oh, yeah, the line is permeable.
It's like, I'm sorry, we're gonna go ahead. I know right or wrong, but I can't.
Yes. Thank you.
That knowledge.
Oh, really? Oh, great, thanks. What's your name?
Yeah,
Hey, Pete.
no,
Pleasure. Thanks.
that's my whole job. It's like parks and.
Okay, I have 6 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. If everyone could please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Christie, could you take roll, please?
Happenford. Present. Stevens.
Here.
Fontana.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Critelli.
Present.
Nacarado.
Here.
Mayor Shore.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Great. That will take us to the consent agenda. Any questions or comment on that this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull out item number 5 to the regular agenda, the ordinance 2025 to the update, 2025-23.
Second.
Okay. So we will take that, and that would be to new business, correct? Okay, so we're going to take item number 5 And it will now be item number, I believe it'll be 8 when we, 8 or 9, whatever, but I'll bring it over when it
Oh,
comes
no, it'll
to.
be item 14 if you want to wait till
What's
the
that?
end.
14, the last item, you have it? Okay, got it. Okay, very good. All right, anything else? If there's nothing else, I would take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda while removing item number 5.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Fontana, seconded by Councilmember Pattenfort, and the motion is to combine and improve the items on the consent agenda while moving item number 5 to new business. Further discussion?
Stevens,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. And that'll take us to public comment. And you probably noticed there are a lot of sign-up sheets, so there's a lot of public hearings tonight. Public comment would be for any item that's not covered under the hearings. So just want to make sure everyone knows where to sign up. This is an opportunity for the city council to hear from our community. Public will be limited to 3 minutes each during citizen comments. There will be a clock on the screen, and I will hold everybody in the interest of fairness strictly to that. Council may not respond to your comment this evening. Rather, we may take it under advisement, and your questions will be directed to the appropriate department for follow-up. And if necessary, the city administrator will correct the public record. And with that, we have John Turbush.
Thank you, Mayor Sherman, the City Council. John Turbush, 132nd Street, Unit Number 2. Here tonight just to personally invite all of you to our annual member appreciation party. It's this Thursday from 5:30 to 9 p.m. over at the Fun Street Family Arcade. Just wanted to extend a personal invite because the city's been a longstanding partner of ours for about 20 years. You'll all be on a guest list, so don't feel like you need to make a financial contribution or become a member to attend. If you want to become a member, I know some of you already are. Great, we'd love to see that support. And then just very quickly, I know that the budget's pretty tight for the city, and as I understand it, the $10,000 in Conservation Trust Fund dollars that SMT has received for the past several years is probably going to get cut, or may already has been. Totally understand the city budget is tight. We'll just say that it's been pretty invaluable for us to pay for our staff, the actual boots on the ground, to grow our staff, and as we look ahead to next year, we're trying to partner with the Forest Service, BLM, the Colorado Trail Foundation to really fill gaps with the loss of a lot of the federal land managers. So that kind of money is pretty important for us to staff. I'm not going to twist your arms about it, just wanted to let you know it's pretty important. Again, I understand that the budget's tight and a lot of folks are going to be feeling pain. So regardless of that, I hope you can all come on Thursday night. It's going to be a fun celebration. You can meet a lot of people that support our work and really see who that work benefits. So thank you for your time.
5:30 to 7:30, you said?
5:30 to 9 p.m.
You have to stay till 10.
John, did
Yeah.
you say where?
Fun Street Family Arcade.
Fun Street, thank you.
And anyone else, if you want to be an SMT member, that's the price of admission is $40, whatever you can give. Just show up and got a live auction or silent auction, food and drink for everyone there. So really fun time. Hope to see you there.
Appreciate the invitation. Thanks for being here tonight.
You're welcome. Hope to see you Thursday.
Anyone online for public comment?
I don't think anyone has their hand.
Nope.
Okay, very good. Then that will take us to unfinished business and ordinance 2025-19, an ordinance of the city of Salida, Colorado, annexing to the city of Salida a certain tract of land in unincorporated Chaffee County known as the City of Salida South Arc Annexation. This is a second reading and a public hearing. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and turn it over to staff for their report. Thanks, Bill.
Evening, Mayor and Council. This is simply to annex property that the city acquired a few years ago into city limits. And to note, it's not the entire South Arc neighborhood, nor is it even currently a part of the Vanderveer planned development area. It's the 2-acre parcel that was previously owned by the Armstrong family that we purchased in order to really kind of straighten out the lines, out there in the PD and make it available for additional recreational purposes. So we're finally gotten around to bringing this forward to annex it, and the next item will be to apply a zoning, at least as a placeholder on it, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So, it's fairly straightforward, and the staff recommendation and motion is there for you to consider. And I can take any questions you might have.
Questions for Bill this evening?
Why did it take so long? No.
Give a really long-winded answer.
So, back in, no, it's just, we've had a lot going on, obviously, with the land use code, and the South Ark PD and everything else, so.
So this is kind of the final step, is it not?
It's not really. I mean, this is going to be helpful, I will say, though, to bring it in, just because if we don't and we are applying for various permits for the infrastructure out at South Ark, we'd have to work with the county on that, and this allows us to just kind of work through our own processes.
All right.
So it makes it a little easier.
I'm ready to offer a motion.
It's a public hearing.
Oh, well,
We'll-
still am ready.
We'll get there, just not yet. Any other questions for Bill before? Okay. Thanks, appreciate it. Very good. With no applicant is the same as staff. Is anyone signed up for public comment? No one signed up for public, anyone online? Okay. No need for rebuttal. I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing, and that will take us to preliminary council discussion.
I move to approve ordinance 2025-19, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, on second reading approving the annexation of approximately 2.17 acres of property known as the City of Salida South Ark Annexation.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Martin. The motion is to approve ordinance 2025-19, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, on second reading, approving the annexation of approximately 2.17 acres of property known as the City of Salida South Ark Annexation. Further discussion?
Fontana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Critali.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. And that takes us to ordinance 2025-20, an ordinance of the City of Salida, Colorado, zoning certain real property known as the City of Salida South Ark Annexation as low-density residential R2 zone district. This is also a second reading and public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open the hearing, and back to you, Bill.
Yep, so this is the follow-up ordinance to the annexations. As you are aware, we do need to apply a zoning district to any annexed parcels within 90 days of its annexation. So we have tentatively just applied a R2, actually should read medium-density residential, to this particular property. But as I mentioned before, there's actually a deed restriction on the parcel that requires it to be used just for recreational purposes, not for residential purposes in this particular location. And unfortunately, as of right now, we do not have a parks zoning district. We will have to wait until the new code and zoning map is effective to be able to apply that particular zone district to it. Or if it's determined to be better for the purpose of the overall plan development out there, the South Ark PD, we may do an amendment to modify that and incorporate these 2.17 acres into the South Ark PD. That's to be determined at a later date, sometime next year. So it's really just a placeholder zoning for this moment. This all shows the
Oh, did you want?
the location of it. Yep, nope.
Okay.
Thank you. So got the motion there, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
What is the point of zoning it now versus waiting?
90 day.
We have to meet state statute, within 90 days, we're supposed to have it zoned after the annexation is effective. So
Thank you.
just taking care of that procedural step.
Since we're all here.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and is most of this property like, in the wetland space has been identified anyway?
Yeah, there's a bunch of wetlands out there. Long-term, we'll have more conversations about what to do specifically with that if we want to mitigate any of those wetlands and relocate them potentially just to consolidate potential recreational uses or what might happen. But that's a longer term discussion. Yeah.
If there are no more questions, applicants the same as the city. Anyone online?
Nope.
Okay. So no need for rebuttal.
And I will make if you can make the amendment, R2 medium density
R2
as opposed to low density, just caught that.
Okay. Okay. Did you say, okay,
Don't say low, say medium.
medium, got it. Thank you. Okay.
Just so that's consistent, it really doesn't matter
Yeah.
at this point because it's a placeholder, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I shut down the public hearing, any other questions? Okay. We'll go ahead and close the hearing, and that'll take us to preliminary council discussion.
Somebody else's turn.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2025-20, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida on second reading approving R2 medium-density residential zoning for the City of Salida South Arc annexation.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Nacarado, seconded by Councilmember Fontana. The motion is to approve ordinance 2025-20, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida on second reading approving R2 medium-density residential zoning for the City of Salida South Arc annexation. Further discussion?
Nacarado,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. Next up is ordinance 2025-21, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, amending the Salida Municipal Code with regard to the compensation of the mayor, city council, and city treasurer. This is also a second reading and a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open the hearing and turn it over to staff.
Amy, you're up.
No, I was going to put in a wake-up call for you.
You caught me sleeping on the job. Yeah, I completely forgot this was even on the agenda, but anyhow, we had talked about this.
You've had a lot on your plate.
We had talked about this during the budget preparation process, about the high cost of benefits, and we did some comparisons between what we were offering and what other municipalities offer. And I do think it's important to offer coverage to our elected officials because we want to attract great elected officials like what we have done. But in order to control the cost, we are suggesting through this ordinance that we make a change to only offer this to the elected official itself and to not add dependent coverage. So that's the only, and it would only apply to newly elected officials, those who are existing until their next election will have keep their same benefits.
So Amy, if a new person were to come on and they wanted to add their family, could they add their family and just pay for them 100%?
They could, yeah, they would have to pay the full premium,
Right,
correct.
okay, thank you.
And it is a good deal to participate in a group plan like ours. You can
Yeah.
usually get cheaper prices.
Other questions?
Thank you, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
thank you. Looks pretty straight.
Mr. Mayor, I move to.
Oh, wait, it's a public hearing. That's okay. We have a lot of
We're just
public
ready to
hearings
keep it
tonight. So, all right, so very good. Do we have anyone signed up, public comment-wise? Okay. No need for rebuttals. Applicant is the same as the city. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and that'll bring us to preliminary council discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2025-21, amending the Salida Municipal Code with regard to the compensation of the mayor, city council, and the city treasurer.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Pappenfort, and the motion is to approve ordinance 2025-21, amending the Salida Municipal Code with regard to the compensation of the mayor, city council, and city treasurer. Further discussion? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Stevens?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Critelli?
Yes.
Nacarado?
Yes.
Fontana?
Yes.
Pappenford?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Now go
And
back
thanks
to
for the job, you do a great job around reducing things in the budget.
I fall asleep on the job.
That's how much you hear.
Okay, and now moving on to new business, ordinance 2025-22, an emergency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, repealing ordinance 2025-15. This is also a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open the hearing and turn it over to staff to summarize their report.
So I'll do a quick overview, and then Jeff is also here to answer questions too. On August 27, 2025, a referendum petition was filed challenging ordinance 2025-15, which approved the zoning of the 5H LLC property as high-density residential R3. The petition protests the effectiveness of the ordinance 2025-15 and requests that City Council repeal the ordinance or submit it to the municipal voters at a special election. On September 23rd, the final determination of the referendum petition sufficiency was issued and sent to the petitioners. And according to state statute, once the referendum petition is filed, the ordinance does not take effect upon final determination of the petition sufficiency, and the City Council must reconsider the ordinance. They can repeal ordinance 2025-15, thereby it'll end the referendum process, or they can decline to repeal, in which case the ordinance will be referred to the voters. If it's referred to the voters, the special election must occur between 60 and 150 days from the date of sufficiency, so no earlier than November 22nd and no later than February 20th can we have a special election. And this ordinance is being brought forward to council for your consideration to either repeal your initial or your original decision or refer it to the voters.
Thanks. Questions for Christie on this?
I have a question
Yeah.
for other staff.
Okay, yeah.
For Bill. So Bill, the development proposal came to us in one way. And I'm wondering if you could describe any other ways that the development proposal could have come before Planning Commission and City Council, such as a planned development or subdivision, without it coming in the form of the annexation first. Am I making any sense?
Well, so to be clear, the only development applications that have come in regarding this property were the annexation request and the zoning request.
And then it was highly unusual, but we included the concept plan and the
There was a
annexation
concept plan that was provided as a part of it to show what they were thinking, which was also briefly discussed at the original concept review. And so to give the community an idea of where they were going with it. And then that was refined further, as I understand, through a neighborhood meeting or two that the developer had with members of the community. So it was really supplemental information. There was nothing guaranteed about it. And then obviously we also did go through the annexation agreement process that the city signed on to in agreement with the developer to further limit it beyond the 96 unit cap down to 72 with additional conditions there.
And so how is that concept plan in the annexation agreement? I mean, this is probably a legal question, then how is that affected if the ordinance is just about zoning, not the annexation?
The annexation agreement would be null and void because it's dependent upon the R3 zoning remaining as is. Certainly, the developer could come in, if another zoning was applied to it, could come in and negotiate into another annexation agreement with the city. But that particular agreement would be null and void.
Could the developer, can I keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Could the developer come back with as a planned development instead of the route that it went previously?
They certainly could, but only if they needed to deviate from aspects of the code specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, if they could conduct a development within the existing dimensional standards of the code, they wouldn't need to come in for a planned development.
Thank you.
And just one more piece of clarification. The 96 unit cap was a part of the annexation ordinance, which is effective, and therefore that is the maximum number of units that could be potentially built in any case on that property, regardless of the annexation agreement. That ordinance is effective and the law.
Any other questions? Okay. Very good. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? Great.
I'll pass.
You'll pass? Okay. Okay. Anyone online? No. Okay. All right. Going, gone. So no need for rebuttal. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. That'll take us to preliminary council discussion. Who'd like to begin?
I guess I'll ask a question to Bill. So when, and I was not part of this discussion, so when it was discussed and the developer went, I think it was to the Scout Hut and showed possible designs for this, is that normal? That always happens?
No, it's pretty unique for a developer to engage in a neighborhood conversation around that. It's certainly not a requirement of our code.
Okay, and yeah, that was different to me, and I did not go to that, but I had heard that that's what was happening. And so how far ahead of that, so what I'm getting at, did we as a city and this developer try to give enough time to the neighbors and the neighborhoods surrounding for notification of what was possibly to come? What was the time frame?
I mean, it was typical noticing around the annexation and zoning that is provided 15 days ahead of a public hearing. And the first public hearing was with Planning Commission. So that went out 15 days before that particular public hearing, but specifically for the annexation and zoning, right? Because we don't have a development application for a particular development or subdivision. It's at this point just the annexation and zoning. But as we talked about, earlier, they did provide a concept of what they were thinking about doing out there, and that's, I think, what was the focus of that neighborhood meeting.
And if I remember correctly, that first meeting, that conceptual review between the council and the planning commission, wasn't that towards the beginning of the year?
That was in June.
It was in June?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
We didn't have a whole lot of attendance by commission or council.
Yeah. Thanks. Would like to,
Am I understanding correctly that if we vote to repeal the ordinance tonight, could a future council still consider zoning this property R3, or is that off the table?
No, it is not off the table. Council, planning commission, staff, or the applicant, the owner of the property, could be the ones to propose a new zoning. I'm going to look to Jeff. I don't believe there's anything precluding the same zoning being proposed again, though I'm sure that that's pretty rare. But I believe that could technically be done. Am I correct?
It can. But it is rare because it's in the face of a strong signal from the public. So.
Nothing
just to
so
speak
deceptive
plainly.
as an obvious clue.
Well, and I'm talking about if the council votes to repeal this evening versus the vote of the people. Sounds like I have my answer on my next question as well, which would be that if this should go to the vote of the people repeals the ordinance, a future council could consider zoning it R3. It's not banned from being zoned R3 in any of those cases.
I'm going to defer to answering that question because if the zoning was rejected by the voters, there may be a limitation for a limited period of time on reproposing the precisely same zoning for the property. But I don't know the answer, and I'm not going to pretend that I do before I look it up.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, could you explain what happens with the process of zoning now?
Could you elaborate on that? When
So-
you say the process of zoning now?
So there's two options. So let's say now we repeal this.
Yep.
What happens with zoning? And then let's say we send it to the voters, what happens with zoning?
Yeah, so as soon as it's repealed, whether by council tonight or by the electorate after a special election, the clock will start for that 90-day period that we were talking about earlier, where you need to get a zoning applied. And so statutorily, you're supposed to have that zoning within 90 days of the effective date of the annexation. The fact that a petition was submitted, a valid petition towards a referendum, paused that 90 days. And, but once the repeal happens, should it happen, that clock would start. And therefore, there's an impetus for zoning the property, some zone within that 90 days. And it would have to go through our process, which means going back in front of Planning Commission, then coming back to City Council for 2 readings. And so that's a public hearing in front of Planning Commission, and then a public hearing here in front of council.
And who does that?
It can be initiated by council, Planning Commission, staff, or the applicant.
Okay,
It's in our code as to such.
okay. And it has to be, at some point, it has to be done and finished in 90 days.
That's what state statute does require.
And is what we do tonight will determine when that starts, right? The 90 days. Bill it tonight.
It could be, if it is repealed, that 90 days would start tonight. If it's sent to the voters, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't start unless it was repealed by the voters at a special election. So.
Other comments or discussion?
Are we in discussion or questions?
We're in discussion now.
Okay.
Yep.
It's questions.
You can ask questions too.
Okay.
Discussion questions.
Yeah. Yeah, so my thoughts on this is that we had a petition turned into us with over 500 people and their signatures. My concern is that if we spend $30,000 to be told again that this is not the zoning that the community wants, then it feels like we got this petition for free. We got the voice of the community for free. So spending the $30,000, knowing our restraints in the budget right now, like I'm happy to advocate for something like co-responder program. I don't really want to advocate for a special election. Again, when we have been told already by the voters, and I did just check, and we, for Salida, we've already had 330 ballots turned in for this election. So we have active voters in this community for sure. And so, yeah, in my opinion, I think we should save the $30,000 and meet the wants of the community. And that is to repeal our decision and move it to R2.
That's also how I intend to vote. I want to vote for repeal. I think that the R3 zoning was way better for the community, but they decided to pull a referendum anyway. And so let's give them the R2 and they get what they get.
My concern is that there is a probably very large portion of the community who is essentially silenced by that petition. You know, the 500 people asked to sign that petition are very likely people with housing security, not the people in need of that multifamily housing that would be allowed by R3. So it's not equivalent to a vote of the people. And I think we really want to think about that. We can't use petitions as votes of the people for that reason, because who was asked to sign the petition?
I understand that it's not representative of the community, but I don't want to throw away $30,000 to fight for it.
And the other thing I would say, because I am reluctant to spend the 30,000 as well, is if it went to a special election, turnout wise, I mean, I know that typically where you get the greatest turnout is in a national year election. And then, so for a special election, I mean, how many people are actually going to show up and vote? And the other thing I think a little bit about is we're going to have a change in council in just a few weeks. And I think back to the last petition we saw, which was over ballot measure 300, and how much work that was. And it was really important, but we're going to have new people coming in, and it would be a tough way for folks to start. And on top of that, the burden on staff and their time would be enormous.
I think it's also, this isn't our first referendum on a project. We lost the last one, if you remember, bottling.
Was it 2 ago?
And
Before
Or, well, 2 ago,
Yeah.
well, so we lost bottling plant. I mean, I'm talking projects, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
something we went to bat for.
Yep.
Where the first one I experienced was with the crossings,
Yep.
which was signed mostly by folks in that general area. That passed. We spent a lot of time and effort, and that project didn't happen. It's just never really been a great experience. Drawing from just from what I've seen as far as going to bat for projects. It's very time consuming. It takes a lot of boots on the ground. And I've never seen one that was signed. We're looking at like a sixth of the voting population, a little over that, signed it. It's just, I don't know if I have it in me to fight it the way that, and again, to point to the transition that we could experience on council, like, do they have it in them to fight in the way that it would require $30,000 to be spent when one is spent it haphazardly? So.
You mean to fight for density?
Right. If we're going to spend $30,000, and we as like a council would really have to put our money where our mouth is. Yeah, like say we're spending this because we think that this can pass the vote of public perception, and we're going to champion that. We're going to go door to door. We're going to, because or else I don't know why we'd be spending that money.
Yeah.
Especially when there are other things we want to fund more.
Right, yeah.
I agree with, $30,000. Right now, if the taxpayers' money is, it's a big ask for most people that probably don't even know that this is even going on right now in our town. To ask them to step up and pay that $30,000 for what I feel that we have our answer going forward, enough to go forward and so it's kind of where I stand as well, just kind of not.
So I have a couple more. So there's a couple different questions I would like to still ask and discuss is the numbers. So if you're looking at this as a little over 13 acres, Am I correct on that?
A little over 15.
15 acres. If we are limited to 96, period, if it went to R2 zoning, we're not doing the zoning tonight, but in the future. No, we're not. We have a lot to talk about, but it would be locked in at 96.
Yes, it's locked in at 96.
Okay, so if it did go.
As a max of 96, I should say.
To a voice of the people, it's still locked in at 96. And there's no way to overturn that, right?
The annexation is effective. It would need to be brought up. I'm looking at Jeff to see how an annexation ordinance could be changed after the fact.
I don't know that you can. I think we're stuck with the agreement we made.
The ordinance,
the ordinance,
right? Not the agreement.
The ordinance, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've not seen it where
Okay.
they've come back and amended that annexation, that ordinance.
Okay.
There can be further restrictions put on it, vis-a-vis the annexation agreement that,
Like we tried
We
to do
did.
with the 72.
correct.
Okay,
But that's this is a baseline requirement, is a max of 96 units on the entire property.
okay, so we could put some other restrictions on it. We do live in a representative government, and we are elected up here to voice what we're hearing from the people, and there were over, a bunch of signatures. So in saying that, as we make a vote up here, we need to make sure that we're taking that into consideration. And yes, $30,000 is a lot of money, but we need to even consider more than that, a voice of the people. And that is us either making a decision up here or letting it go to a vote. If we see that it's going to a vote and it's going to be the exact same vote, we're listening to the people and we are going to vote the way they're asking us to, it does seem that we should not have it go to that special election and make the vote and have the vote up here. It feels like that's the best decision we can make.
I think it's really difficult because it's difficult for us to understand the differences in R2 and R3 zoning. I think it's difficult for the general public to also understand the nuances there in a way that would impact the vote to get that R3 zoning that we wanted, that would allow for the multifamily housing, that would keep it from being, cookie cutter, every yard has to be this size, driveway setbacks that are provided for by R2. And it's really tough to help the general public understand those differences. I think for that reason, I'm really torn on this decision because I do think the R3 zoning would have been better for our community. I think it's going to be tough for the developer to get the inclusionary housing to pencil out with R2, and we're just going to end up with two $10 million mansions on that property. And that's going to be a huge loss for our city. But $30,000 means a lot to our city right now. So that's where we are. I feel incredibly stuck.
Yeah, I definitely hear that, Councilmember Nacarado, because, we had a lot of discussion about how the multifamily is how they would be able to get those units. And the setbacks are just very different. And it's taken me a long time to understand R2 and R3 differences. I just wanted to say, I do hear you, Dominique, on that, for sure.
I'll just quickly add that there are some safeguards to that are built into the new land use code as far as the minimum densities. So it couldn't technically just end up with two large homes on it for, purposes we discussed during the land use code process.
Thank you. That's a good reminder. Thank you.
Reassuring,
Yeah. Appreciate it. And
was gonna say. Never mind.
Anything else, or does anyone want to make a motion, or do we want to continue discussing?
I offer the motion. I move to approve an emergency ordinance of the city of Salida, Colorado, repealing ordinance 2025-15.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Critelli. The motion is to approve an emergency ordinance of the city of Salida, Colorado, repealing ordinance 2025-15. Further discussion?
I have two more questions, I'm sorry. The developer at this point doesn't have to propose to, I'm sorry, I think this is a dumb question, but the developer doesn't have to propose to annex this property.
It is already annexed.
It's already annexed, that's done. Okay, thank you. And then this, nope, lost it again. The next council could potentially, when this comes back for rezoning, could potentially say R3 again. And we could just keep going back and forth like this. It's like in a one giant filibuster.
Big Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
Until somebody pays that $30,000.
I was gonna follow up with you after this vote to see what do you want the next steps to be, because this council is still seated and still has authority to move forward on a new zoning, so we can talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Critelli,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Nacarado.
Yes.
Motion passed.
So, Mr. Mayor, before you go on, I would like to hear if there is any direction from the council to initiate a new zone on this parcel. Now, as Bill mentioned before, the council, the applicant, or staff can all initiate, or planning commission can initiate that. Before we leave the room, I'm curious if this council wants to initiate.
I do. I
the
would like
zoning.
it to be R2.
Second, I support
I
that.
personally would love to have the applicant come forward.
Okay.
On the same page as that.
Applicant?
Can make that decision for himself, right?
Yeah,
That's an
I
option.
don't think we need to make that decision for them.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Herder wants to come in, I think that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. And then Resolution 2025-47, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, establishing October 24th, 2025 as World Polio Day.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Need to find the right screen. So Resolution 2025-47 comes from Rotary International, requesting community leaders to recognize October 24th as World Polio Day. You know, in the past, the city would read a proclamation when these came forward from nonprofits. And a few years ago, the council established a very set number of proclamations for each month. So now when we get these requests, we like to bring them forward to the council still via a resolution. So we're still supporting the nonprofit, we're still supporting the cause. But the council isn't then inundated with proclamations and reading them kind of at the beginning of each meeting. So I have attached for you the resolution, which outlines what Rotary International does on the 24th of October by identifying the amount of money that's been raised to eradicate polio cases across the world.
And I would just add, and I don't think there's any conflict of interest because I'm also a Rotary member, but this has been their global cause for many, many years, and they've been really, really effective. But I think it's important also not to lose sight of all the good work they do at the local level with scholarships, with their help with the Scout Hut, and down at Riverside with the band shell. So they've been a really good community partner, and this is something that's really important to them as an organization, and I just want to thank them for their partnership.
Also, I think I think they solely fund the Boy Scout troop here in town, which you kind of see, or I should say scouting troop here in town, I guess. So, and that's kind of fastly, disappearing quickly, seeing scouts and scout meetings in towns. I think BV's doesn't exist anymore. I don't know if Kansas City does anymore, but yeah, they do great things with the scouting program. So I'd like to thank them for that.
Anything else? This isn't a public hearing, so anyone is welcome to make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 2025-47, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, establishing October 24th, 2025 as World Polio Day.
Second?
So we have a motion from Councilmember Fontana, seconded by Councilmember Martin. And the motion is to approve Resolution 2025-47, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, establishing October 24th, 2025 as World Polio Day. Further discussion?
Happenfort,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Fontana.
Yes.
Motion passed.
And we're back to the public hearing. Resolution 2025-48, a resolution, man, you practically
Rise
sprinted
and
up.
shine.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, summarizing revenues and expenditures for each fund and adopting a budget for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending on the last day of December 26. This is a public hearing, so I'll go ahead and open it and turn it over to our world-class sprinter to present.
Thank you for letting me be my goofy self. I can't control it. I have a very brief presentation just to bring you up to speed on where we are. We have a timeline. Our retreat that we hold early in the spring every year is actually what we view as a kickoff to the next year's budget. And you set a really good strategic plan for us to follow. And, we have our regular operations to budget for every year, but we really do try to listen to the feedback that you provide. Department heads worked on their budgets based on the initiatives that we all agreed to. The requested budget was reworked to ensure affordability. As you recall, first round was not affordable. We had to rework quite a bit of that. This is a tight year for the general fund specifically. The proposed budget was presented to council for the first time in September, and it was made available for public inspection also in September. And tonight, we're asking you to hold a public hearing and consider adopting the budget. Next slide. That's just a snippet of what the strategic plan cover sheet looked like to remind you. It's on our website if you want to review that, anybody. The changes since we last met, we realized that the flour mill project is starting their phase one. They do have funding to proceed in 2026. So we added the $200,000 that we have agreed to reimburse them for infrastructure associated with the project. We also added $75,000 to the housing fund for hiring an owner's rep. We're currently in the process. We have an RFP out to find somebody who can help us with the property sales related to that project, the South Arc project, excuse me. And then finally, this is a bit of good news. After updating our initially very conservative projections, specifically in the capital improvement fund, that fund is usually at a zero balance at the end of every year. This year, we had quite a bit of carryovers because we were still in the process of building the fire station in the beginning of 2025. We still had the solar project to complete. So after closing everything out, we realized we have $800,000, well, actually $900,000 more than was originally anticipated in our early projections. So therefore, we're able to reduce the amount of the general fund contribution for the police station. And then the next chart shows you the impact of that. remember that ugly little chart I showed you on the left-hand side there? We previously reported that when we were looking at our fund balance projections, when UMB did that long-term analysis, they said that we are going to run out of money by, look at this, 2028. And so that's where their sharply declining line ended. And our challenge, that was sort of our wake-up call, our challenge was to not go that low. And what I showed you in our early discussions on the budget is that for 2026, we're going to go even lower than their projection because they weren't predicting that we were going to do the fuel farm and the police station remodel. However, with that $800,000 in funding, we are now above what their prediction was, and we're continuing. We're going to have another couple of really tight years, but by 2029, we should start to be able to bring us up to our fund balance policy level. And maybe before. I do tend to be conservative with my projections, so. Just to kind of put the budget in a little more context, the budget consists of revenue and expense budgets held in 692 accounts, active accounts. We have I want to say 1,500 that are in use right now. These accounts are distributed to 16 departments and 9 funds. The budget adoption resolution shows the total revenues and expenses by fund. People are often surprised at the resolution, how simplistic it is, because it's only showing you totals, there's lots of line items in that. The adopted budget will represent the legal spending limits for 2026. We can go over on our revenues, but we can't spend over what the budget limits are without amending the budget, even if we get a ton more revenue. So, just want to show you comparisons to how the budgets look this year versus last year. General fund, we actually have quite a bit more revenue. The bar makes it look like it's more than it is, but it's a hefty increase. Sales tax, we're expecting a 3% increase. We're expecting lodging tax budget for 2025 is very conservative. We weren't sure what that was going to look like. I was able to increase it, even though it's running less than last year's actual. I was able to increase the budget over what we had for last year by about $100,000. We have, trying to think what else is in there. My notes are but anyhow, so there are some revenue increases. As you can see, we've managed to keep our spending very consistent with last year, in spite of doing a 3% COLA, having some things that we had to add to the budget. Next slide. Council may want to make the following additions. These are open items, based on what we've talked about, especially last night. As you've identified, we have savings in the budget because we're not having to do the election, the special election. But we had talked about maybe adding more to the co-responder program. There's currently 25,000. What I was hearing at least last night is increasing it by another 25,000. And I'm showing you what percentage of an increase that is in our spending in the general fund. Each of these that I have listed on their own are pretty small, but our budget has a lot of little cuts that add up. You don't want to add everything back that we took out. But in this case, it's a 0.17%, so less than 0.5% if we add another 25,000 to the co-responder. If we decide to increase, you is what I mean to say, the community, Chaffey County Community Foundation by another 50,000. That's what I heard you talking about last night. That would be a 0.35% increase. Here's something we didn't talk about. This is a reminder for you. We had talked to you at a work session during the budget discussion times about the Public Art Commission and not funding them for 2026. And they came back and asked that we consider rolling over unspent 2025 funds. And I had forgotten to consider that. Diesel remembered this week. So, and I think 2 council members did say that they were interested in doing that. So I would suggest that maybe we do add that back if you all agree.
Do we have room to do all 3 of those things?
Well, the 3 of them will add up. We don't have room. It's going to increase our spending. But, you know, if you added all 3 things, it would be almost a 1% increase in the budget.
Well, the
And then anything
37.5 is a rollover, so that's not,
Thank you.
right?
Yeah, very good point. So we're spending less this year and putting it in next year. So that doesn't really have an overall impact over the 2-year period.
I have a question. Amy, how does it work if, so the rollover is different than those other 2. Are these going to, if we chose to not put either one of those in there, how does that affect the reserves? Or if we put both of those in there, how does that affect that reserve? As a council, we're trying to keep it to 25% of reserves.
Well, I would, if you wanted to add anything to it, I would say that let's also take out the $30,000 special election cost. Okay, so that offsets a portion of what we're adding back. But any amount that we increase expenses by is going to reduce reserves by an equal amount.
And
So
we're trying to get
because
to
we
25.
have a situation in our budget where we have more expenses than revenues. So if we keep, anything we add to expenses is going to further erode the reserves.
Right, and we're trying to get to 25. I saw on there that you had it without these things, with the 30,000 in there, that it was
12.8.
Oh,
12.3, yes. is
12.3.
Where we're down to now.
And that is
And our
way
fund balance
below.
policy is 25% is what our fund balance policy says we should strive to not spend below 25% of the previous year's operating expenses. And if we exactly achieve next year's budget, we would be at 12.3% of the previous year's operating expenses. So we're below our fund balance limit.
Okay, so if we kept these, if we didn't do either one of those programs, that gets a little bit closer.
It keeps right now, the budget does not include these 2. So if you want to add it, it's going to
Decrease it.
decrease it.
So, like I had brought up last night, I just remember how effective that emergency challenge we made coming out of COVID. I mean, right now with what's happening with SNAP benefits and other things, we've got a really caring, compassionate community. They stepped up in a huge way and levered a $25,000 commitment back then into over $500,000. If we were to hypothetically, like I mentioned, maybe do a match at 10,000, which would be a heck of a lot less than the 50 here. I mean, I believe in this community. I think we would get significant amount of matches, and possibly if what happened 5 years ago was any indicator, we might get a number substantially above 50K. No promises, but it's possible. And I don't know, that just seems more prudent to me. I know there'd be some operating logistics to put in place, but I'd love to tap into the community.
I would suggest, if a council member agrees with that, when you make the motion, to make a motion to adopt the budget, amending the general fund expenses to increase it by 10,000 for that, 37,500 for the Public Art Commission, and decrease it 30,000 for the special election.
I disagree. I'm sorry, I meant to phrase it as a yes and. Yes and. I disagree. The difference between now and 2020 is that there weren't huge cuts being made across the board at a federal level. That these nonprofits benefiting from Chaffey County Community Foundation are feeling coming from every direction right now. So, yes, and because that needs to happen, and, you know, we leverage it for the community, and they're gonna be fighting tooth and nail for every dollar that they need in order to function. And I think it's, until you are kind of doing that fighting tooth and nail in a nonprofit, you might not realize how synergistic that $50,000 could be, where the nonprofits are gonna take that money and make it into so much more money. That, you know, like the sum is more than the parts. In this case, they're gonna be able to do so much with it. But they're feeling those cuts very harshly right now. And so $10,000 leverage with the community, yes, let's do that and amplify it and include this additional 50K.
I also think that the city budget is reflective of what people are experiencing with their own budget right now. We're seeing an increase in cost in a lot of different factors, a lot of different facets. So not to say that I don't think that this community could come together. I don't feel as comfortable relying on that and asking, I don't know. I think our budget constraints right now are reflective of personal budgets as well.
And I'd push back a little on both and say that back when we put that in place in 2020, the amount of uncertainty out there, no one knew where it was going, and it didn't matter. People, even though they were seeing if they had money, their portfolios dropping by 40% that year, they still stepped up and contributed an additional $500,000. I could be wrong, but those were really trying, uncertain times. And I think a lot of people today do recognize that with what's happening at the federal level, that there needs to be more community involvement. So, and then I also think about, $50,000, it is a substantial amount of money. And we've asked all of our department heads to cut to the bone. So, I mean, it's challenging. I was part of the group that bumped it up. We were only giving like 30 grand. We took it up to almost 100. So, I mean, I just see it differently.
And so my preference would be to take the 30,000 that we just avoided having to spend and apply it to this and not spend anything more. Because I totally feel the pain of what you're talking about. Staff has already cut $1 million or more out of the budget. So for us to turn around and act like we have money now is ridiculous. And I don't think we should. I think that we should put 20 to the community foundation and put 10 more on the co-responder program. We wouldn't be passionate about the co-responder program except for what we've watched happen nationally. No one has been killed here because they had a mental health problem, but it happens, and we don't want it happening here. I think we should only spend that 30, and I think that that's a fair point about the art money being a rollover, so I'm not counting that. We've got a new, very powerful art commission, and we need to give them some money to work with so we can hold on to those people, and that's what I'd like to see us do.
I agree with Pappenford on we can't overlook the funding for the co-responder at this time. I think with all the talk about, not knowing what's going to happen in the near future with all the cuts. I mean, there's going to be people, they're going to be, they're going to be affected by all this. And I think that co-responder program is going to be maybe something that we're going to see kind of spike. Maybe, hopefully not. I really hate to say that, but having that program funded well could, is another. It could, help us, keep people out of jail systems and keep them out of the hospital, and cut costs that way as well too. So we kind of overlooking the co-responder program right now is something that I don't think we need to do.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
So I would like to bring Chief back up if that's possible and ask Chief or or Christy, if, again, that co-responder program has been fully funded. They said it has been fully funded in the amount of $700 and some thousand dollars.
$130,000.
We would just be helping the county's budget out by
Right,
giving more
that-
to it.
That's my question.
That's correct.
Would we just be helping the county's budget out if we threw another $5,000 to that? Or would they add additional
yes.
services?
My understanding is that that 730,000 funds 5 FTE, plus operating costs for the program. And so without the contribution anticipated from the city of Salida, they are kind of slow rolling the hiring of those 5 FTE. So really, it just means not being able to hire as many co-responders for the program.
And that does include funding one full-time sheriff's department officer or deputy, and then one 60% sheriff's deputy that is responding to calls when we already have officers on scene from Salida. And I'll point out too, I got new numbers. I was hoping to have them last night, but I got new numbers today from Sol Vista. And for the last year and a half, I got all the numbers for the Sol Vista co-response calls that went to Salida. There was 49 of them in a year and a half, and 17 of them were at the same address. So there's not as many calls as in actuality is being displayed out there.
Is that like an apartment building with multiple people?
No, it's an actual family that has a troubling situation with a couple of individuals.
So putting an extra $5,000 on this doesn't change their programming. Is that right? Is that what you're understanding?
That's my understanding. Councilmember
guess we could make a
Nacarado and I sound like we
stipulation
have,
that they hire
right,
more,
have a
but-
different understanding of where the county is in the process. But I believe that they had everyone hired, but that I could be wrong.
That's what I'm asking. That $5,000 is a lot. It could go back into that general fund reserve. I mean, that's a lot of money. If-
Where's the 5,000 you're talking about coming from?
Or the 25,000. I know
Okay.
somebody had just mentioned putting 5,000 over there, or.
I said 10.
10, I'm sorry, 10,000. I think if that program is fully funded as is, and we are just supplementing the county's budget with the program fully funded, I certainly don't want to do that. I want the county to fully fund it, us contribute what we said we would contribute, stop there, and put that money back into the general fund, because everybody has cut to the bone on this. And I do not want to see us to throw staff's money away that they could have used something for more city programs.
Investing into this program is not throwing money away.
No, I'm not saying that, but if the sheriff's department is funding it,
And it was also, I think it's important to state that when we discussed this last night, there was an option to revisit in 6 months, the halfway point, as far as if that funding is carrying us to where we want the programming to be. I think it's not as if this is like something that, okay, no takes these backsies, this is what it is now. If there is in 6 months, that was my understanding anyways, that we can revisit it, and if there's some sort of issue, then we can discuss it.
And maybe I shouldn't have re-brought it up here, but I think when we discuss something in a work session related to the budget, I needed to give you an
Yeah.
opportunity to
Yes.
formally make a decision, so.
Thank you, Amy.
I appreciate you bringing it up. My ask tonight was going to be to fund it at the $100,000 mark. So I would be happy to compromise and put in an additional 25,000. Because I'm just worried that it's not going to be funded enough to be able to tell whether or not it's effective, I guess, is my concern.
So in that half-year point, how would that not reflect, like the effectiveness of I mean, unless it's being presented disingenuously, like, oh, hey, it's a disaster, we need more money because we were keeping it that way.
Or
Like,
because, you know, Salida Police Department isn't getting the co-responder participation that we would hope for in order to be able to actually collect the mental health data about our community. I mean, so now we're at, and it's just hard to keep track of all the numbers. So now we're at 49 calls reduced to 32 or 33 if we count that household once. And those are different numbers. So it's just a matter of gathering this mental health information for our community. And I'm worried that, you know, it comes back in 6 months and there's just kind of this feeling that it's not working.
Councilmember Nacarado, are you concerned that Salida PD is not calling for the mental health services for the co-responder, or that we are calling for them and they won't be available?
I think my worry is that if there's not 5 FTE or whatever the number of co-responders actually is, because we don't want to count the sheriff's deputy as a co-responder, if it's not fully funded for those 5 FTE, that we might not get the participation.
Okay.
That we're looking.
It's a case manager and 3 co-responders in the $700,000 number.
Gotcha.
The 2 sheriff's officers are in that number as well. And it is fully funded by the sheriff's office. We're just contributing to their budget. And we had zero say-so in the setup, implementation, or any part of the program when it started. This is just a number. They came at us arbitrarily and said, you owe this much money for you having 28% of the population in Salida.
And I feel like, you know, there needs to be continued conversation with the county. Doesn't feel great the way they approached us. And it needs to be more collaborative. And just the fact that the numbers changed as much as they did does not sit well.
And we do still have the Sol Vista program of the co-response, or not co-response, it's the program that Sol Vista still runs that we have the option to utilize when we don't have access to somebody. We actually used that last night.
Would we have to pay?
It's free.
So then, Russ, what does that look like? So if I had a mental episode and I go to the hospital, you've taken me to the hospital because I'm being all wild, then that means that Sol Vista's going to stay with me and then you can go back to work? Is that what that looks like?
The majority of the time, somebody calls the police go assess it. If it's nothing, then we go on our way. If it's a mental health situation, then we have the option of, if it's a manic, like crazy episode, we can put somebody on an M.5 and we will take them directly to either the RAC or the hospital. If it's not a manic episode, it's just somebody going through rough times, maybe suicidal, but more attention seeking than actually suicidal, then we'll have Sol Vista come out or the co-response program, and they'll talk to the individual, set up a safety plan with them and their family. 90% of the time they get left at home after a safety plan's put in place. They'll set up follow-up care. And then the other times, we just automatically take somebody, if they're intoxicated or on drugs, directly to the RAC.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, do you feel like you have enough support with your co-responder program, either as is or with this fully funded program already? Do you have enough support?
With the amount of calls that we actually get that we need them, I think we're good at the moment.
How do you determine, I'm sure this is really complicated, if you can explain it easily, how do you determine whether it's actually needed?
Just based on when you show up to a scene, the situation, what's going on, what's happening, who called in, what are they, is it a family member that called in? Is it somebody passing by on the street? You have to look at the totality of the whole situation and then make a judgment call. All of our guys go to, like I said the other night, critical training on this, dealing with people that have mental health needs. If some people have mental health needs that are also experiencing medical needs. So you have to decipher, is it medical? Is it a mental health issue? A lot of the time medical will show up and assess people and it ends up being a medical call. But it really is dependent on what's going on at the actual situation and all the factors leading into the situation we got called to.
And I imagine with multiple officers there that you bounce off each other, you know, how to proceed and have a discussion about what happens. But you did just refer to them as guys. Is it all guys?
No, we have several women on the police department. But it's, if there's two officers on scene, they'll talk to each other and kind of gather. Some of them will talk to the witnesses, some of them will talk to the person they're responding to, and then they'll communicate and kind of figure out what the situation is. But you have to really take each case by case, and you can't just go off of what somebody said, because sometimes people exaggerate, sometimes it's an emotional situation where a family member's calling in. So it really takes you going there, observing it, and then making the scene. If it is co-response, then you make the scene safe, and then they come in afterwards. So we have to go regardless on every call.
Thank you.
So when I think about the community foundation, when Betsy was here last night, you know, talking about, you know, preventative and proactive measures, and yeah, I feel like investments into, you know, thinking between co-responder and community foundation, not that it has to be either or, but thinking about, you know, this $30,000 from the special election we aren't going to be spending. I feel like with that upstream solutions, community foundation with youth development and housing being there, like the two biggest ones that are like the types of programs that they grant to, like that can be that extra step before that co-responder program might be needed for like those mental health issues. So I think, Elisa, you said you were thinking, like if we do all agree that if we just want to spend that $30,000 from the special election, you said 10 for co-responder and 20 for community foundation?
That was my original thinking.
Okay.
Roll it over the next few slides.
Oh, there's more. Oh,
You got so much
Yeah,
time.
we've got stuff.
And then you have to decide.
Okay.
Easy peasy, piece of cake.
Next slide. Want to remind you, you know, we mostly talked about the general fund, but I do want to remind you that there are projects, significant projects, that are next year. And really, the only fund that is a challenge right now is the general fund. Our other funds have been, you know, maintaining a healthy level of reserves, or, you know, we spend them down on purpose every year, things like the capital fund. But want to remind you of our project list for next year: the police building remodel, US 50 sewer line replacement, that's a really big one. Christy's going to tell you a bit about the bond and how the sale of that went in her comments tonight. The water tank off CR 120, $4 million. Phase, and that's a very high estimate, so you know, but we're thinking, we're optimistic that'll come in lower than that. Phase one of the South Arc infrastructure build out is in the budget, $9 million. That's out of housing fund money, grants, and intergovernmental agreement. West Highway 291 rebuild, the biggest portion of that $3 million is going to be paid for with a grant. The Safe Routes to School project, which this is actually a rollover, you know, from this year. US 50 to Walmart, Holman, Stryker, US 50 ped crossings. And this is funded in the street fund, as in the majority of it, once again, is a grant.
Amy,
project?
sorry, really quick. The West 291, that's the roundabout project in, like, near the hospital?
It's near the hospital, okay.
Okay.
Yes. And somebody's gonna have to teach me how to drive those roundabouts.
Just keep circling.
Just go roundy around.
And this is a repeat
kinda like
of
NASCAR.
what's in the council
Fast.
resolution.
Left.
But we're doing a comparison between 2025. And on the expense side, you'll see some pretty hefty increases. That's because of the projects that I listed. Next slide. Oh, it's the last slide, but I just had to put a quote in there that Ryan Short had made. The identity of a city does not live in billboards and campaigns, it lives in the budget. I believe in that very, very strongly.
You would.
Any more questions
Somebody signed up.
before we
Oh.
turn it over to public comment? You good to go to public comment? Okay, no one signed up? Anyone online?
Shockingly, no.
Shockingly, no. Okay, so no rebuttal. I'll go ahead and close the hearing, and that'll bring us to preliminary discussion.
You know, after all the discussion, really where I'm at now is I would like to put $15,000 of the 30 into the community foundation. I would like the other 15 to go into the contingency fund. And then if it's needed for the co-responder fund, mid-year, that it's there for that. Or whatever other contingency, you know, once that time passes, if we determine it's not needed for that, that it's just in the contingency, so we can fix something else.
I can get behind that. I kind of, like
And
kind
roll
of
over.
what Wells was saying earlier about, the preventive maintenance is something that's pretty high on my priority list. If we can prevent something
Oh, thank you.
from happening, that's the best, case scenario, I think
Yep.
so. And then 15 kind of what Davenport was saying sounds great to me.
Is that an option? I mean, that's an option.
Yeah.
And where does that money sit?
I have a line item, I think I just call it other, that I often build a contingency in the general fund. This year, we have a zero contingency, just so you know. But it would be nice to have that 15,000, and we can make a note in our files that is for the council to later decide
What to do with?
what to do with.
And then
Yeah.
if we don't spend it, it goes back into it helps build up the reserves?
Right,
Or,
right. Well, yeah, it reduces the reserves by less. I mean, we're going to probably have a use of reserves next year, so.
okay.
And it's been interesting to, watching and listening tonight, because staff has been having these really challenging conversations now for months. And, we're having one tonight. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, I look, that community foundation, when we came in 8 years ago, there was very little committed to it. And we've done a lot of really good work in the community with it. And so it's tough. But sadly, that's the position that we're in right now, having to make these really difficult decisions.
In that contingency fund, we don't have to spend.
Right.
We can
right.
just,
It's
put it-
there, and, you're putting, a stipulation on it that it is to be saved to spend on the to consider spending on the co-responder program as we gain more experience with that program.
well, we can just say on anything that's needed, or,
I think
You
it
could-
should
you could-
be
you could
for
say
the
whatever you
first work session in June, if this is the route that we do go with it. It would be the first work session in June, we would want to discuss that $15,000 for the co-responder program and then decide from there. Like, that is the first option for that money, I think is what I heard Councilmember
That's my
Davenport say.
preference, yeah.
And then if we decide at that time that program, and maybe, I think it would be great if we had people from the co-responder program and in the county and sheriffs, people who are doing this come in and say, hey, actually, yeah, this 15 would be great, or things are going great, putting that money elsewhere. But I from what I hear, it's a few of us are thinking at least, like, that would be the first priority for that 15, if that's the route that we
so we
do
could
go.
have some data from chief or the sheriff's department or the co-responder.
All three, I think.
Maybe
would
it could be a
great.
work session.
Yeah,
And
the
have
first
more
work session in
communication with the
June.
county.
Yeah.
I wrote it down.
Yeah.
June.
Well, if somebody wants to motion to adopt the budget, I'll do the amendment.
And I do want to remind you about the rollover of the
Public arts.
public art.
And so that needs to
funds
be
too.
mentioned as an amendment?
Yeah, but currently
You
that's
could just
not
make a
in the
motion
numbers.
and Put the amendments into the.
Okay, fine, I'll take it. I move to approve Resolution 2024-48, summarizing revenues and expenditures for each fund and adopting a budget for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending on the last day of December 2026, amended by the addition of the roll forward money for the Art Commission of 35.7. 37.5, I got dyslexic on that one. And then reducing the $30,000 for the special election, putting 15,000 of that toward the Community Foundation to be used as a challenge grant, as the mayor suggested, and the other 15,000 to go into a contingency fund that will be revisited in June of '26. For it to be specified for the co-responder program, with that final decision to be made in June.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a
Repeat all that.
Yeah, I'm going to try. So we have a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Critelli. The motion is to approve Resolution 2024-48, summarizing revenues and expenditures for each fund and adopting a budget for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending on the last day of December 2026 with the following amendments. Rolling forward the $37,500 from 2025 to 2026 in the public arts budget, reducing by the $30,000 for the special election, with 15,000 of that going to the Chaffey County Community Foundation with a challenge grant, and the remaining $15,000 going into a contingency fund to be reviewed at the first work session in June, specifically regarding the co-responder program. Did I get that?
And can I ask a question real quick? Can you roll forward to the resolution? So what you're going to do is increase under the estimated expenditures. You're not going to approve it at 60,163,000. We're going to, the net of all those numbers is we're going to add 37,500 to it. Do you want me to do the math, or is it okay? And I guess I'm looking at you. Does it matter that the resolution in front of them doesn't have the exact right numbers?
But
They're mentioning what we're going to change.
Because they just
How did that
made
happen?
amendments.
We just added 37,500.
To the general
Some
fund.
riveting stuff up here, Jeff.
He's just looking at pictures of the grandbaby.
You see a problem with that? I can go do the math real quick.
Do I see a problem with amending the resolution to reflect what you're talking about? No.
Right, changing the numbers to, yeah, okay, all right. I won't go do math.
Do I need
You
to
know how
add
much
on
you
to
love
my,
doing
No,
that.
we're good.
to my motion?
Okay.
No.
Further discussion?
Fontana,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
did, we passed the budget.
Appreciate all the hard work.
Diesel, go tell the Public Arts Commission they have $37,000. Run and tell them right now.
Next up, Resolution 2025-50, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving a First Amendment to option to ground lease with Art Space Projects, Inc.
Hello again. So just a little bit of background on this. The Art Space was chosen as the developer for the First and D project back in 2023. Of course, the city acquired the property that year, specifically via eminent domain and a court order that did require the project or the property be used specifically for affordable housing. So that contract went to Art Space in '23. Much of 2024 was spent in the conceptual design phase, going out to the public, coming into Planning Commission and City Council for a number of work sessions. And the ultimate conceptual design was approved mid to late 2024. And then shortly thereafter, ArtSpace requested an option for a ground lease on the property so that they could show site control of the property in order to go ahead and apply for grant funding to help fund the project to build the conceptual project that was approved. That option went in front of council towards the end of 2024 and was approved through December 31st of this year, 2025, with an opportunity built in to extend the option an additional 12 months if funding was not achieved to finalize the project. So at this point, and I have Andrew Michelson from ArtSpace on the line, if you have any questions of him. But ArtSpace now is requesting to utilize that extension for the option of an additional 12 months, extending it out to December 31st of 2026. So that would allow time to secure the additional funding that is necessary. There has been some funding that has been secured by ArtSpace, however, not the entirety that is needed at this point. So with that, our recommendation is there in the staff report, the motion as well, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have, and we have Andrew on the line.
Bill,
I'll start. Oh, go ahead.
I've heard some questions that, people would like to fire these folks and they think that starting over would be a step forward. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Discuss.
I am one of those folks, so I am interested to hear
how
about
about if I hand it over to Andrew, and I think that might be the best way. He could actually answer that, and then I can weigh in afterwards if that works.
All right, let's hear from Andrew.
Sound good? Andrew?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. I think Bill did a good job of summarizing a lot of the work that's undergone on this project to date. Specifically to the question of terminating ArtSpace, I certainly don't have any specific background on that, but I can anticipate what some of the frustrations may be, and be happy to speak to what I presume those might be, or to answer questions specifically that council may have. I will say, just in advance of that in the realm of affordable housing, it's very typical that we see multiple attempts at funding, multiple rounds necessary to secure all the dollars that are required to make a project like this move forward. And we are sort of right in the middle of what I think a typical lifespan of a project would be, where we've gone through concept, we've gotten public input, we've taken that forward, gotten to a level of design necessary to advance those applications. And we've been, successful in a number of those endeavors, and need some time to advance the bulk of those applications now to secure those dollars necessary to bring the project forward. So it's very common for us to see frustration and for folks wanting to see things move faster. And I'm happy to speak to that further, or to take questions or comments that council might have. But I would also just add that the project that we've designed, with the input we've received from the community and the incomes we're targeting, which are between 80% of area median income and 120%, those are incomes that are not fundable by a lot of the traditional mechanisms that exist, primarily being the low income housing tax credit. We do have the great benefit that the state of Colorado has advanced two programs that do now address specifically that missing middle, the income band that we're targeting with this project, one of which is the community revitalization tax credit, which we were successful in receiving a $1.75 million award just this last summer, as well as the middle income housing tax credit, which is in its infancy. We did apply in the first round of its availability last year. And there will be future opportunities to apply for that, with the program also expanding of its funding availability. That would be coming in this next year, 2026, with the request before you to extend our site control, would allow us to advance that request. Again, I think this is relatively common for the type of development we do and the sort of work that we see, but it's also, as I said, not uncommon to see some frustration and Having said that, I'm happy to field any questions specifically that council may have.
And I'll just add to that too, and echoing some of what Andrew just mentioned. We got to bear in mind that it went through that conceptual design process, and we were in front of City Council a few times to actually hone down on the specific concept, and that didn't happen. That approval didn't happen until later on in 2024. And once they have that concept, then you got to put it into actual design development that can be presented to a grant funder, right? So there was a lot of work. They had to select their architect and the general contractor to do a lot of work to put together the grant applications. And those grant applications are few and far between for affordable housing, and they only come up generally once a year. And they, in this particular case, I think the majority of them didn't come up until at least the spring of 2025. And as we alluded to, ArtSpace was successful in getting $1.75 million from OEDIT early on in this year. And I think Andrew was being fairly modest when he mentioned that they applied for the middle income housing tax credit. They were one of only 5 applicants to be chosen for an interview out of, I think, a couple dozen. In the end, they selected 3 out of the 5, and we were left out in that particular case. But we were also encouraged to reapply next year and try to make some cost cuts to the overall cost of the project. And I've been a part of that value engineering conversation that's gone on, and they've been pretty successful in actually cutting out the cost of, I think, at least 1 unit, but still retaining that unit in the value engineering process. So
Nice.
just a little bit more background.
So if we agree to extend through the end of 2026, what happens at that point if they haven't gotten the funding and delivered on the project?
Yeah, I think that's a matter of really taking a look at the project as a whole, really, and hopefully getting a lot of feedback from the funders to understand, are we going down the wrong path, with this? Is there a significant challenge? I will say this project is challenging, as, Andrew mentioned, because it wouldn't qualify for a low-income housing tax credit project, which is where the vast majority of affordable housing projects come out of. But those generally require a minimum of around 36 to 40 units, and we can only do 19 given the zoning challenges and constraints and the size of the lot and everything else when you consider parking and all the requirements. So we're at a little bit of a disadvantage of getting the funding in this particular case.
So Andrew, thank you so much for being here tonight. So I am in the service industry, and this is something that is, a project that would be helping out my coworkers, right? Like the community that I'm involved in. And right now it's a parking lot. And so it's been very frustrating to be a representative of the workforce and say, yes, we have this ArtSpace project going on, and it's sitting there as a parking lot. And I understand that, there are cuts federally, and, we just missed the mark, or, you guys just missed the mark, not missed the mark, but we almost had that one grant that Bill just spoke to. We were very close to getting it. And so my question to you is, how many clients do you have? Like, how many projects are you guys working on? And where do we fall on that priority list of the projects that you have going on? Because what it feels like is it feels low at this time, but I would like to hear if that is true or not.
Yeah, so happy to address that. As far as the Salida project goes, I am the project manager. It is among a handful of projects that are on my specific personal priority list. Of those, this is essentially one of the top 2. I have one project that is under construction in the state of Arkansas, and this is the project that is the top priority of those that we're advancing for funding requests. So as far as ArtSpace as a whole, of course, we have a variety of different projects we're advancing, but as far as a priority, within the state of Colorado. This is the one that is advancing most steadily and is our highest priority, and we're seeking to get it funded. So it's certainly not falling behind others from an art space projects organizational agenda. It is among the top priorities on my personal agenda, and one that we're doing what we can to advance. And I hear what you're saying as far as being in the service industry and seeing the need for the housing and looking at a parking lot. I think this is probably small solace, but this is a sentiment we encounter frequently when we're developing affordable housing, because as Bill said very accurately, the availability funds are oftentimes once a year, and they're far oversubscribed as far as the need versus the availability. And so it's very common that we will apply and not be funded on a first application. Oftentimes it's on the second, sometimes the third, as the project might warrant. But also we take those unsuccessful applications and build strength into a subsequent application. So that's what we'd be seeking to do here, and put ourselves in the best position as possible to be successful the next time through. But in any project of an affordability, whether it's middle income, low income, or very low income, you're going to see this timeline and a lot of quiet period, but it doesn't look like a lot is happening on the site. And that's true. There isn't construction happening on site, but there is a lot happening behind the scenes. And I understand that can be frustrating, but it is not something that ArtSpace is unfamiliar with. And it's something that we seek to persevere through. And so I certainly hope you can hear from me that there isn't a lack of trying. There's not a lack of prioritization. A lot of sort of the downtime you're seeing is that once an award is made or not made, we have to then wait until the opportunity presents itself again, while also looking to what other opportunities there may be and build on the successes. So when we go in the next time, we can say we now have this 1.75 million that we didn't have before, and that hopefully will make us a stronger applicant than we might have been the time before. So I hope that's responsive to your question, but I'm of course happy to field any updates or further questions you may have on that.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Andrew. And when does that 1.75 million, when do you have to use it by? Because I know that that's an issue that you guys have run into, is that you didn't use the grant funding in time, and so we lost, I think it was $500,000.
Yeah, so the award that has been made, we don't actually have the full award letter in hand yet. We're working very closely with OEDIT on that. That Community Revitalization Tax Credit is a new program. So we were successful in getting that award. We do have notification of that. I speak probably once a month, if not twice a month, with the staff at OEDIT that is administering that. And they're generating those documents now to secure that. It is a credit that exists and can be carried forward based on eligible expenses for, I believe, 5 years. It might be 3 years. So we're at this point not in any danger of losing that. It's really a matter of getting underway and being able to document that credit and monetize it. So once we have that document in hand, it can actually look to the very specific dates that they're going to apply to it. We can speak directly to those points, but as of right now, we're not at risk of loss on that.
Thank you.
So I had a question. Tonight, we're talking about the lease option. Obviously, once financing's in place, you would execute on the option of the lease. And if I remember correctly, that's for 45 years that you would be operating the new structure, the new apartments that would be on the First and D space. What's the revenue projection that ArtSpace is looking to receive over those 45 years? The reason I ask is because obviously ArtSpace is not a local organization, and we do have some nonprofits that could potentially benefit from this.
Yeah, fair question. I believe actually the term is projected at 35 years. I don't have it open in front of me, but I think you had said 45. The intent there is 30 years of affordability built in as a requirement of funding sources, and then a period of time during which any existing financing, such as first mortgage debt, could be refinanced, at which point it would then revert to the city for ongoing ownership from that point forward. As far as revenues in the project, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but I will just say, generally speaking, and the way that this project is also modeled is that the revenues, the rents collected are sufficient to pay all of the building expenses, fund reserves necessary to the project, which are owned at that project, and have a little bit of cash flow in excess of that. And that may be absorbed in additional expenses or capital improvements over the time. ArtSpace's revenue really is not based on the long-term ownership because it's set up to be, as a project, self-sustaining. So as a nonprofit, our monetization of our efforts is built into a developer fee, which is capitalized as part of the closing, paid out during the arc of construction, stabilization, and getting that project into a permanent operating posture. This project is budgeted with a $1.2 million fee to ArtSpace, which is just a little bit less than 10%, which is on the order of magnitude slightly less than you might typically expect in an affordable housing project. If you look to a similar budget size on a LIHTC development or low-income housing tax credit development, you typically see about 12 to 15%. So it's within line, but as far as dollars, ArtSpace is essentially seeking to receive $1.2 million out of the total development cost, including all of our efforts to date, and then the ongoing stewardship going forward. I'm looking at it right now, so just give me a moment if you will. On an annual basis, as projected, it is on the order of $7,000 net cash flow after expenses and reserve payments in the first year projected, and that increasing slightly over the course of the projected years. And of course, I have to put the caveat that this is budgeted. And so from a cash flow perspective, there might be something on the order of, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year that may be excess cash that the project might have available if it operates according to budget and is at occupancy as slated. Typically, we see those dollars staying at the project and used to supplement reserves and capital needs of the project. It's also, frankly, in these days, the exposure that we see in insurance and real estate taxes oftentimes necessitate that those dollars are kept at the project. That is a very long way of saying we at ArtSpace don't bank on cash flows from projects and operations. Our revenues and our operations as an organization are based primarily on our fee. The dollars generated at the project are used to help sustain that and keep the project in good order for the duration of not just our ownership and stewardship of the project, but ensuring that it's in good condition to continue that mission after we've exited, which in this case would be after 30 years.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move on to discussion?
No.
We'll go ahead and move to discussion. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Well, I was on the community outreach piece of this project. Spent a lot of time learning about Space to Create, and ArtSpace in particular. And I don't think, it didn't turn out even just what was approved, what the art community was asking for, and didn't reflect what we wanted. And it's not all, ArtSpace's fault. I think it's just not the right lot, not the right land for for something like this, because it comes with a court order that it has to be used for affordable housing. ArtSpace is usually a project where you could have a space to create available to the public. It's not so with this project because of the stipulation, adjudicated, that it has to be utilized by residents that are there. There's no guarantee that there will, and nor should there be, that it would be just like for artists. So then I see it as just building this space that could very well not be used, was the concern that I had. And with the team that we had of local artists. For that reason alone, I think it's just not in the spirit of what arts-based projects tend to be. I think that, when it comes to other organizations that just focus primarily on housing, we could have something actually happen here. So that's just how I feel, having spent a better part of 6 months listening to this, and being part of the beginnings of this project. So.
If I may, real quick, and I understand that, and I hear that, Justin. Within the contract, it is required that a creative space be created and provided. Right now, the design allows for up to about 1,600 square feet of flexible creative space, and the plan is for the city to be able to program that space, even if the residents aren't utilizing it fully, because maybe they're not all artists or creatives. There will be opportunities for the community to utilize the space through city-run events and city-run activities, programs, et cetera. Just to clarify.
Right, which was received very underwhelmingly by the arts community. Just to give you a little background.
Well, things never
Hold on,
pan
we
out.
got people here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I have after listening, I kind of have a couple questions for you, not so much discussion, but a couple questions. Number one, how much have we as a city spent on this project? Do you have any idea the total amount we have already invested into this project with, maybe with ArtSpace, or maybe just into this project? And then either we re-sign with ArtSpace or we don't, and then what happens?
The primary expense from the city was the purchase of the land, right? So through eminent domain, I believe it was $650,000 approximately.
It was before my time.
Yeah,
sorry.
somewhere in that vicinity.
That's
And
not
that was
included in what we're paying to art space though. That was gonna happen
Cor-
regardless of art space.
Okay.
So,
Correct.
And then we've paid ArtSpace.
And then the vast majority of the pre-development funds that have gone to ArtSpace to help pay for the design, development, and putting together documents and everything else have come from a variety of other buckets, primarily both public and private foundation monies that we have then directed to ArtSpace to pay for architecture plans and their general contractor cost estimating, all that, all those expenses. I don't know if Amy or Kristen perhaps have a specific amount that's come out of the housing fund with just our money, not grant funded. But I think it's fairly small, if I'm not mistaken there. So anyways, looks like they're going to look those numbers up right now. And then as far as, if ArtSpace was not provided the option to extend this ground lease, in all likelihood, we would be required to kind of start over as far as the design, bringing on a new team from the developer to the architect to the general contractor. And then those folks, no affordable housing developer comes with 90% of the money and just need to fill a small gap to build it. They come with maybe 10% of the money or 20% of the money in the form of financing loans that they can take out or cash on hand. And then they have to finance it with the remaining 80% or so via grants. And so we would be right back at the same place and starting over as far as the funding goes, in all likelihood.
Okay, so then we'll find out how much we've already paid ArtSpace. Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah,
then?
I believe that's what we're putting together
Okay,
right now.
thank you.
Is there any kind of limit on the number of amendments to option to ground lease that we can do?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Is there a limit on how many amendments we could do on
Yes,
the
absolutely. Yeah, because the ground lease option that was approved in 2024 provided one option for a 12-month extension to the end of this year. So
That's it.
this amendment doesn't need to have any additional
Okay,
extension opportunities.
thank you.
You got something?
And then, Bill, we had 5 years from the original seizure of the land to get affordable housing on it, right?
I don't think there was a time frame. You might be thinking a little bit more about the land that we got through the Chaffa Land Banking Grant for the senior project on the east side of town. But I'm not aware offhand of a specific time limitation for that use. It's just that that needs to be the primary use, affordable
Right.
housing.
Okay. But regardless, I don't want to start over. That's my
The
point.
same, it's tough in these streets right now, but, it's just gonna make it go slower to start over.
And it's a beautiful project that's going to be a gorgeous entry to downtown. It's not everything that Councilmember Critelli had hoped for with his work group,
Just
but
the
things
outreach
seldom
group.
are. Things seldom are everything that you want. It's always a trade-off. And so I'm certainly in favor of continuing on with these guys and letting them wrap up the project.
And there, it does provide an additional art space.
Yep.
I understand that the folks, the outreach group of the artist community is not happy about. I'm actually not sure I understand whether it's they're not happy about it being managed by the city or they're not happy with the
It's
space.
just that it was just inadequate.
Not as much.
Yeah, it's
It's
just,
not enough.
it just wasn't what was,
Hoped for.
Yeah.
you know, that give back to the amount of time spent in meeting. And I'm only just reflecting, I mean, again, I have a house, I'm good. But like, so I'm not
You have someone
crying
sleep.
over it, but it's
You
just
put a lot of
reflecting,
time and
yeah,
effort into
reflecting what that outreach was. It just didn't feel like, they didn't feel like they were heard. I think that just needs to be stated.
Yeah, there's the option of that space or no space at all.
Same issue that they've run into currently.
So if we were to start over completely and kind
Yeah.
of break ties with art space, we would go towards more of taking out that space completely and just, and adding more livable units?
We
Is
couldn't.
that where
I mean,
we go
because-
to?
Well, but the 19, otherwise we'd have to go do a PD. And you can imagine like a referendum in that situation, right downtown on that lot? No
Yeah,
way.
The
pretty
biggest limitation is parking requirements.
parking requirement.
Yeah, because that takes up a lot of space and it's not financially feasible to do a underground parking garage or anything along those lines.
What about
It's-
another, oh, sorry.
Sorry, you would need to go through the variance or PD process to get the parking deviation.
Okay.
Like, what if it was another light tech project? You mentioned it's easier to get those grants. There's a lot more of them.
I heard there's not space for the
Is
minimum
that-
40 units. It's too
Yeah.
small.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right,
so
there's a
you'd need-
minimum, okay.
You'd need the space,
Okay.
you'd need the parking, otherwise you have to go through the PD. All that would have to be approved really before moving forward with the application.
Okay.
Whereas this could be done through administrative review because the 19 units is the cap of what can be allowed.
And as I look at this, I totally get the frustration. I'm frustrated too. I, would have liked to have seen this in process, if not finalized by now. But I also think about if we were not to extend the lease, I mean, the amount of time and we're going to add to this would be really problematic.
Years.
Yeah, it'd be years. So,
Another summer of parking?
but I get the frustration.
Yeah,
If there's any members of the public out there who would like to donate money towards it, I'm sure that certainly the city would be happy to accept that. Can you could you help break that down?
it's the doodle.
This is
So-
accounting speak over
Yeah,
here.
so we've paid Art Space for a couple different phases per the contract we signed back with them a couple years ago. And then we've had multiple grants come in that have helped pay for those pre-development services. So in total, the contract is for $650,000. But out of just the city housing fund, things that were not covered by grants is about $220,000. So everything else of that 650 was covered by grants.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would offer a motion.
I would
We're
take a
all
motion.
kind of on the same
I move
page.
to approve Resolution 2025-50, approving a First Amendment to option to ground lease with Art Space Project Inc.
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilmember Pappen for it, and was it?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Nacarado, seconded by Councilmember Nacarado, and the motion is to approve Resolution 2025-50, approving a First Amendment to option to ground lease with Art Space Projects, Inc. Further discussion?
Yes, I had, how much time are we extending?
We're giving it to a
1 year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then it'll come back.
Okay, just check.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Fontana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Critelli.
Yeah.
Motion passed.
Does the yeah get classified as a
Congratulations,
yeah or a
Art Space.
yes?
Yay.
That's proud.
Yay over nay.
You
Yippee.
better come
Yeah.
on.
Okay, resolution
the heat.
2025-51, a resolution of the City Council, City of Salida, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement between Chaffey County, the City of Salida, the Town of Buena Vista, the Town of Poncha Springs regarding the distribution of revenue collected through the differential 4% increased countywide lodging tax.
I think the title says it all. All right, so as you all are aware, Chaffey County will be going to the voters November 4th to request an additional 4% be added to the current 1.9% lodging tax. Current lodging tax currently funds tourism, housing, and childcare initiatives, and all of those dollars stay with the county. They don't redistribute any of them directly to the municipalities. They go to different initiatives. So the proposal from the county is if the additional funds are approved by voters, 35% of those funds would then be redistributed back to the municipalities, who could then use those funds within the same statutory guidelines as the county would be using those. So the eligible expenses include public infrastructure, public safety, emergency services, but also tourism could be included in that as well. So we have been talking with the county and the other municipalities. The county's estimates are that the city could receive approximately $660,000 in the first year that the funds are collected. Again, we could use those in a number of ways. They would go to the general fund, and then the council could determine how those funds would be spent. I do want to make it clear, regardless of how we feel about 1A, by signing this IGA, we're not putting support behind it. We are just simply saying that if it passes, we will receive some benefit from that. And I personally think it's a great opportunity for us to have funding coming in that we can reinvest into public safety programs, whether it be our PD or our fire department or any number of programs that we currently don't have the funds to fund. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Would we be able to use it towards co-responder?
Yes.
Would that count as
We
public
would.
safety, Mary?
Full circle here, guys. Yes. Yes, there are a number of programs that could benefit from this funding.
Questions?
I'm tired of offering motions, somebody
Oh,
else should do.
I don't have a question, sorry.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so when hearing about saying what this money can go to, something that when the commissioners came in and spoke to us, and what they are proposing now, we can do it with childcare, public roads, public safety. I ran into PT today. He said housing was also an option, which I haven't read that anywhere, but anyway, so he did say, because when he came in, he talked about, we would put X amount into public infrastructure, X amount back into the municipalities and split that up. But I mentioned, when I rewatched this meeting, I noticed that there was no mention of childcare. There was no specific funding going towards that. And I know that we don't have a childcare fund necessarily. But if 6A? No.
1A.
Yeah, 1A, so, okay, yeah, so if 1A.
6A pass.
Okay, so if 1A passes, then and we do receive, these funds, like, I would be interested to hear thoughts on maybe that focusing on like childcare. Like, and again, I know we don't have a childcare fund, but we can get creative with, again, like, private-public partnership, who could we potentially give that money to or something? I don't know, just some thoughts that I've had about it. And PT said that right now, like the lodging tax revenue that they receive, there is a portion that does go to childcare, but with this increase that they would be receiving if this passes, that increase amount, none of that is going to childcare. So like there still is some funding from the county for childcare, but any more that is received, none of that is going to be going to childcare services in the county.
Well, I don't know that it's possible to restrict it. It seems like it's restricted statutorily.
It is.
It says the CAF says the new legislation not only allows counties to increase their lodging tax with voter approval, but also expanded the eligible uses. Okay, so expanded might be beyond something, but expands it to include public infrastructure, public safety, and emergency services.
Also in the IGA that I believe was attached. So statutorily allowable uses are advertising and marketing, tourism, housing and childcare, public infrastructure, maintenance and improvements, public safety, including law enforcement, fire protection, and emergency medical services.
So I guess I know you're not asking me to answer your question, but without answering it, I think there would need to be a pretty in-depth look at, I think we can assume that need is going to rise into the top priorities, but there's also all those other upstream services too, like transportation, transit, housing, which of course also factor into child well-being too. So I guess I'm more curious about why that's rising up as like that specifically is why you would want to see it restricted to that.
I guess because we don't do a lot for childcare right now, I guess. So yeah.
And like
I don't
we
know.
give like funding like where like Boys and Girls Club, like where there's like actually established things.
You have to be 6 and older.
Right, yeah, I'm just
mean-
saying like if there's no.
believe
entity-
Diesel has
Give to the community foundation.
I just wanted to point out, it's going to be kind of hard to define childcare because we do offer quite a few summer camps and other like what would be considered childcare options at various times. So I think as you're having this conversation, just be careful. You consider those things too. That
Youth
is
development programs.
Yeah, and we have
Yeah.
youth sports. That is not considered child care, but we have many programs that care for children and some that actually qualify as child care.
And, I mean, all this is academic unless it passes.
Money comes in.
Yeah.
And then obviously we'd have an opportunity for a conversation at that point to go and to drill down a lot deeper. All they're asking for is do we want to approve the agreement tonight?
Right, I have, so I was gonna say, along with what Mayor Shore said, is this obviously could possibly not pass. So we may not be getting any of this money if the voters vote it down. So at that point, I suppose, one question about that, this would start, if this did pass, I mean, we're talking about spending money we don't have yet.
Right.
And the cart before the horse.
Yeah, hopefully, the voters vote and figure out what they want to do with this. Would this be in the budget for next year? We've already passed that budget. No, Amy's saying no.
They'd have to collect the money and then it'd be next year.
Yeah,
Be
we'd have to
27.
collect the money when we spend it till
And
27.
man the budget if we wanted to immediately start spending it, but I think this is a really good opportunity to build general fund reserves.
Yeah.
Okay.
General fund, and like I just had mentioned, the voters may vote,
Yeah.
to not pass it.
Right. And we would to be clear, we can't just save the money. We have to spend it on approved purposes. So it would be something that I would prefer for it to be something that we already are struggling to fund in the general fund, like the fire service, debt service.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm ready to give a motion.
Ready to take one?
I move to approve Resolution 2025-51, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement between Chaffey County, the City of Salida, the Town of Buena Vista, and the Town of Poncha Springs.
Second.
So a motion from Councilmember Pappenfort, seconded by Councilmember Telly. The motion is to approve Resolution 2025-51, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, approving an intergovernmental agreement between Chaffey County, the City of Salida, the Town of Buena Vista, and the Town of Poncha Springs. Further discussion? Christie?
Pappenfort,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Nacarado,
Yes.
Fontana.
Yes.
Motion passed.
And that brings us back to ordinance 2025-23, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Salida, Colorado, removing subsection 6-6-20G of the Salida Municipal Code regarding the Chaffey County residency requirement for short-term rental business licenses. And it's to approve on first reading and set a second reading and public hearing for November 4th, 2025. Maybe we'll have you start since you asked.
Yeah, if I could. I wanted to pull this policy out because I wouldn't be able to approve the consent agenda with it in there. The policy is one of the few tools that we have to keep housing within reach for local families and workers. As we've talked about all night, we have so few of these tools. When non-resident investors can buy homes purely for profit, they outbid people who actually live here. Right now, 9 out of 10 Salidans can't afford to buy a home, and a quarter of our housing already sits empty in our community. We can't afford to lose more houses to absentee ownership. Keeping ownership local also keeps profits and tax dollars circulating in Salida. Local hosts spend their income here. They send their kids to local schools and support small businesses. When that same income goes to out-of-town investors, it's gone for good. I've heard the argument that STRs are essential for sales tax revenue or for our affordable housing fund. Sorry, but where's the data comparing the STRs to our hotels? The hotels pay the commercial property tax and also employ local residents. Expanding STRs at the expense of housing is short-term thinking that trades stability for very small change. Finally, this is just about what kind of community we want to be. I feel like making this change will irrevocably change our community. Salida's small town character, neighbors who know each other, streets that stay alive with lights on in the homes year round is what makes this place special. Once that's gone, it's impossible to get it back. So please keep the residency requirement in place and protect housing, fairness, and the character of the town we all love. I understand that there are some commercial centers that are struggling with this, such as the Palace Hotel, but they have other options such as condominiumization that they could use to address this. Let's keep working on that problem. I understand it's difficult, but I am so afraid of what's going to happen to our town if we lift this through this ordinance.
Would like to go next?
I thought we gave direction to have it in the commercial zones lifted, but not the whole lift.
Not residents.
We talked about it.
Yeah, it felt like our last meeting, there was a lot of good, information, a lot of good ideas that came out kind of from everybody. Like Ms. Nacarado said about lifting some of the caps or the residential restrictions in our historic downtown area, keeping some of the other ones the same as they are. But I just see we have to change something because we've got these caps that aren't even close to being met. And I think that's because we have the residential restriction on it. And I understand that we of course we want people here in our town to be able to purchase those licenses, and that's why we kind of put the residential restriction on it, but it's not happening. It's not, people aren't buying those licenses that live here. That's why we're not meeting our caps. And then we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by, we're trying to, have this SDRs fund our affordable housing projects, but we can't get to the amount of licenses to actually make any money off of it because of the residentials. And so I think we do need to look at it again and choose where we want to raise the residential restrictions, keep them here. But something's got to change because it just seems to be, it's just not working the way it is now. And that's kind of where I stand on it.
I think it actually is working because it's potentially converting those homes into long-term rentals, which was the original goal of putting these restrictions on the short-term rentals. Why would we want to generate affordable housing funds from houses that could be somebody's home, and in order to use those funds to build those people homes? It's not a matter of it not working because the caps aren't met. Why do we need to meet the caps at all? We don't need to meet them. Again, like, it's incredibly inefficient to have short-term rentals that could be somebody's home fund building that person's home.
So what?
I think meeting those caps,
Okay, we'll go from you then to you.
meeting those caps, there are many that, there's a lot of numbers there when you talk about what is actual and what is cap. And if you add all of those up, I'm sure Christy has a number of the difference in what is actual and what is those caps. That number is a huge revenue generator if we lift that residency requirement. That is a revenue generator for our housing fund. It is a revenue generator for the people that work there. It keeps, when you invite more people to town, hopefully that with those new licenses we would apply, that would be more sales tax revenue in a tourist-driven economy. Christy, do you have that number?
Yeah, they're up there now.
Oh.
Yeah, they're right there. I don't think there's a single one that's at 70%.
Not even close. And if you added up the difference in those, I mean, I could add that really quick here.
We get that point.
You get the
Yeah, we
point.
get
That is a lot of money that could be brought into our town with tourism. And we are a tourist-driven economy. And if we're just missing that money that people are not going to bring in, then our businesses downtown are going to suffer, our restaurants and our cleaning people and the Palace Hotel, for example. They can't just go back to condominiumization. They are set up on a policy of.
They're already
Didn't they condominiumize? They
They are
were a
condominiumized.
hotel and then they converted.
And then they converted, but for them to sell again, they are asking us to lift that requirement because it is very difficult to have those spaces sell. Isn't that what you had a meeting about with them?
Yeah. So I guess my advocacy for the Area 1, the C2 historic downtown, for the ban to be lifted, or the restriction to be lifted there for residency requirements, and specifically that area, in my opinion, just the Area 1. And it's because for the Palace Hotel and a lot of the ones that are downtown, if somebody were to try and rent those units, like a long-term rent, in order for it to, for the property owner to make it work for them, they'd have to rent it at about $3,000 is what I've been told. And I know we all received an email from one of the owners from the Palace Hotel, and he did say it's not meant for a long-term solution. That is Palace Hotel specific. And so again, my advocacy has been specifically for the Area 1 C2 historic downtown. that is a business area, it makes sense in my head to lift that requirement for them. And for the residential areas, everywhere else, it needs to stay for those who are Chaffey County residents.
We may need to get legal opinion on that. I think one of the key components of the conversation was the concern that having a residency requirement is a violation. So I can only imagine in my non-legal brain that putting requirements only in some parts of the city will not be more, I almost said more better. I'm tired. Will not actually get us anywhere.
We have 2 weeks from tonight, because this is just a first reading.
This is a
to come
first
back.
reading,
So
yeah.
we have time to get that
Yes,
info
yeah,
and
yeah.
figure
So
out.
we can
Yep.
take that feedback and look
I
at
would
it.
even offer, in a month from now, we could have a brand-new majority sitting on this council. I don't know why this feels shoehorned into our decision-making. Like, I say, let the candidates run on it. Let that, like, that's a great way to pull, like, wow, okay, where does the new potential full pendulum swing on this council? Where do they reside on this issue? I just don't.
That's one of the first things that I think we ran on when 2 years ago when I started it.
Yep.
It doesn't seem to be changing too much.
so a
It's
couple-
still a kind of a.
I just don't believe that we've reached an imbalance yet. You know, the problem was huge with short-term rentals, and we worked really hard to address it multiple times, multiple years in a row. I don't know why we would go back. Selling out to corporate interests and out of community interests is going to price out our local working families worse than it already is. It's going to make the price of housing continue to skyrocket or even worse. And Salidans are going to be unable to afford
I'm going to go next.
this potential income generator. And
Yeah.
you all said no to loves. We all did, sorry. I just wasn't in the room. We all said no to loves a couple weeks ago because we didn't want that kind of income in our community. And I'm saying we don't want this kind of income out of community income coming here. I think the impact on sales tax is minimal. Tourism is down everywhere. And I think, can we please let these homes be long-term rentals? People that live here in the community, they also spend a whole lot of money here. And we get a whole lot of sales tax from them. Why are tourist dollars more valuable than people's dollars that live here?
And I don't think that is the issue. I don't think it's a question of the tourist dollars versus local, but there's a number of things. Number one, my understanding is it's one per person, so you can't have, so the issue in the past was you'd have these professional corporate investors going in and buying huge swaths of homes. We have something in the code that says one per person, correct? So that helps to address that. The other thing I think about, and I like Councilmember Martin's idea, I mean, obviously we have to get the legal worked out around the commercial district. I mean, the reality is that all of our hotels are out on Highway 50. And there's a lot of people when they come to Salida that want to be downtown. And, you know, we've seen a reduction from 160 to 120 licenses, I think largely because of the overnight taxes and others. I feel like it's an important offering to the community. And a lot of these places, if we were to simply not allow short-term rentals here, they would just sit dormant. They'd be second homes. I mean, you know, some of these places downtown, you're going to spend $700,000, $800,000, $1 million on. It's not workforce. I wish it was. It used to be, but that we've lost that opportunity. And you know, I mean, I look at the Palace as an example, and boy, you talk about giving them an incredibly shallow pool of potential buyers. And you know, a lot of those places don't really even have kitchens. You know, the parking options are really pretty crappy for them. I mean, I think, obviously we got to figure out the legal part of this, but, I think the caps were a really good step, and we're not even at 70% anywhere. So I feel like, then I look at our overnight, the taxes and the fees that we charge. I mean, we've created a lot of impediments, and I'm good with that. I mean, that we've done that historically, but a lot of this was enacted at a time when short-term rentals were in this profound bull market coming out of COVID. And I think there needs to be balance, but I think we get to that with the caps. And with the caps and the fact that there's only one per person. So,
How does the rest of council feel about maybe having the second reading after the election and giving the new council the opportunity to
Weigh in
Give
on
them
it.
something to do.
I don't know.
I would just love to stop it at the first reading tonight. That's my goal. Do we want neighborhoods full of neighbors or neighborhoods of short-term rentals? Do we want every single one of these residential licenses selling to an out-of-town buyer because out-of-town buyers have a lot more money than residences?
So right now in the residential area, what's one per block?
One per block face.
One, so, I mean, it's not like,
But I wasn't done talking.
I know, but you've also talked 4 or 5 times and other people.
And I'm gonna stay up here talking.
Well, that's fine, but there's a protocol here where everyone has an opportunity to speak, and I want to give everyone an opportunity to speak, and then we'll come back to
Suddenly
you.
that protocol matters, okay.
It does matter. Thank you. Does anyone else? And we can take it to a vote?
I'll say
Well,
something.
I wish we had an answer on the legality right now, if that is something we could pursue for the commercial zone only.
Let's vote on it tonight, and the next council is it okay if I speak?
Yeah, go
I want to
ahead.
make sure, because Wales has also spoken 4 or 5 times.
Well,
I think you just don't like what I have to say.
no,
so you're
I think I've been
interrupting.
very patient. I've given you lots of time, Dominique. I don't think this has been an issue of you not getting time to speak. I mean,
Okay, so why don't we vote on this tonight, and then the next council can bring up how to work this out with the commercial districts, because, go ahead.
Before you call for a motion, I was just hoping to say something else. So you talk about our dollars being local dollars or tourist dollars. We are a tourist-driven economy. It's not that one is more important than the other. We are that. And if we don't have those tax dollars coming in, there won't be the workforce to provide the housing for. And we're not even close to the caps. If we were close to the caps, I can understand. But at this point, the caps were there for a reason. They were put in place for a reason. There's one per block. I think lifting this residency requirement will be more productive in the city of Salida. It will bring sales tax revenue, not more affordable long-term housing by lifting this.
I just kind of, I feel, the houses that are up for STR, or, for short-term licenses and are sitting empty because people that live here now are renting, you probably can't afford to maybe rent one of the houses that somebody would come in here and buy and turn into an SDR. So if we can get somebody to buy those and turn them into SDRs and get that money from them to get put towards maybe getting some of these affordable housing projects moving forward a little bit faster and getting them built and getting the people that do need those houses into places that they can afford, then I think that's the solid move forward in my
I would just
opinion.
love you all to think about how that contributes to sprawl as well for our town. Again, it's incredibly inefficient. This may be working how it was intended to work, which is to turn short-term rentals into long-term rentals for working families and your friends and neighbors and people that run our businesses in this town. It may be working. We don't know yet because all the data that we've been presented with comes from the short-term rental owners. The housing authority is going to conduct a housing needs assessment. We might find out something then about whether housing is still needed for our workforce, right? But we don't have that information yet, and so we can't say that it's out of balance. It's incredibly inefficient to say these homes downtown are saved for visitors and tourists because we don't have hotels down here. The rest of the workforce that serves this downtown can go live in these areas that continue to grow and expand outside of town that we're funding with our affordable housing dollars. It's incredibly inefficient, it's not environmentally friendly, and it forces the workforce further and further away from the place that they actually work.
I'm just gonna speak to the logistics here, and it's like, you know, we have full candidates that are being funded by short-term rental interests. So like, just to kind of throw out there, like whatever we decide can totally be first meeting. If a big enough pendulum shift happens on this council, just revisited. I'm just merely suggesting that we forego discussion and let the chips fall where they may with the result of the election, which will happen in 2 weeks.
I agree with that. I'm not.
I mean, it's just we've talked a lot about short-term rentals. I think it is a big stamp on this campaign season, and let's see what is voted on, because at the end of the day, whatever we decide on this, I have a feeling would be revisited if the new council didn't see eye to eye with it. Hence, completely wasting the thought. That's very thoughtful stuff. I agree with Councilmember Nacarado on a lot of these points, but it's also just logistically, that's just the reality that we're facing with just only having one more meeting after this of this current council.
Well, I think this council is very well educated on this. I think we've gone over this, and I see where our local, our caps are not even close. If they were close, I can understand, but there is money there that could be brought into this city. And I do not like to leave that money on that table. If there are people that would come in here and bring that in and allow for more money to be spent here, and it's not about locals versus tourists, this is money that is only going to be spent by people coming from out of town. I think as a council, we have an obligation to try and meet that. Some of our businesses up here include tourist business, and just bringing in a few more of those the rest of the year can even help. Whenever that can start. I don't know when that would start even. Can you?
When what would start?
If it were to be lifted and we voted for this, when would this take effect?
Not until December. It's 30 days after publication, after the public hearing. So the public hearing would be November 4th. Publication would be November 7th or 8th. So it'd take effect December 8th.
So we could start claiming some of this, receiving some of this money from those dollars that could be coming, as soon as this year.
Or people could be losing their homes because some of those unused permits might be long-term rentals. So would you go back to the table?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so there we go. We've got 34 homes that might be lost in Area 1, 22 homes that might be lost in Area 2. I mean, I can keep going. We don't know if these are people's homes right now. And that's what you're taking the chance of doing, is saying maybe by Christmas, all these people will be out of their homes as their landlords go to sell their home to the highest bidder.
Well, I hear all of that, and my mind is just like, if we were worried about income, why did we say no to Love's? That was how to get into the pockets of people driving down the highway. That was way easy money. The staff handed us a solution, and we said no. We saw the pitchforks and the shovels, and we caved. We did not hear from the whole community. Always the community where change is happening, they're always like, no, don't do it. And so it's foolish. Will a lot of the short-term rentals ever rent to a local long-term? No, because they've invested way too much money into that place. What are they doing right now? They're protesting our rates and refusing to rent their places out. They're renting their places out minimally to cover the $1,000 fee. That's what's happening in the real world already. We've got vacations are down, travel is down, and then we've got protests against our nightly fees, And so I still remember when 70% of the short-term rentals were owned by people who don't even live anywhere near here. And I do not want to go back to there because it's a giant straw stuck into the community, sucking the money out. So if we tabled this or set it aside, would that change the time frame so that the new council would deal with it?
Sure, I don't understand why we.
Yes, it would.
To deal with it.
Well, I think we're going to just have to put it to a
Because
vote.
it's such a big part of the campaign as it is.
I think we're just
People
going to
are
have to
running
put it-
on this.
I think we're just going to need to put it to a vote and see where.
I mean, again.
Can I make a motion? Mr. Mayor, oops, what am I on?
I would just, you see the motions up on the screen
Oh,
there?
Yeah,
I
but
can
it's
read
to
it.
combine.
But
Yes.
just say, setting up, I'd make a motion to set a second reading and public hearing for ordinance 2025-23.
Mr. Mayor, I move to make a motion to approve and set a second reading for a public hearing for ordinance 2025-23. Is that right? No, for November 4th,
The new
2025.
council won't be on the 4th,
Right,
if that's.
right. So, I mean, it's
Sounds
motion,
like
people
intention.
can do what they want with the motion.
I'm going to
Wait,
second.
what?
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilmember
You can amend it.
Fontana, seconded by Councilmember Pappenfort. The motion is to set a second reading and public hearing for ordinance 2025-23 for November 4th, 2025. Further discussion.
I think it's really important that this council decide because several of us on this council had worked so hard to make this work the way that it is working right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's,
I would just beg people to take the long view of what this is going to do to our community and think about those people that may be in houses and long-term rentals who will be out by Christmas.
Yeah, I definitely went into this thinking it was for commercial zones because I thought that was the direction that we gave during the work session. If this requirement is being lifted throughout the whole, all of it, that is different. I just want to say that real quick.
and I would say, I think it would be the right thing for this council to make this decision tonight. I mean, you have new people coming in who obviously haven't worked on it. And regardless of the decision that's made, I think it would be good for us to, and keep in mind, all we're doing today is going to the second reading.
Right.
And over the next 2 weeks, we'd get more input from legal. So there's no final decision being made, nothing binding tonight.
It's just keeping it moving so we can hear from legal.
And the
then
public,
we can-
and the public.
And the public, and then we can throw down next time.
Yep,
I'm in favor of that.
Another chance.
Throw down.
yes.
I just want to say, Mayor, with all this talk about legal advice, we'll provide it, but we're not going to provide it in an open meeting as as our custom.
Okay. Thanks.
You would, okay.
Yeah.
Fontana,
Yes.
Nacarado,
No,
Stevens,
Yes.
Critelli,
Yes.
Peppenfort,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay. And that will bring us to council reports. Councilmember Stevens?
Nothing for me tonight.
Councilmember Fontana?
First of all, I'd like to start out by saying we talked about a lot tonight. A lot of different things. Thank you to the finance team for all the budget and all the hard work you've done with that. We really appreciate it. And I know you've been in a lot of talks with every department and every person in the city, not just us. So I appreciate all of the hours that your whole team has put into it. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Next, I have to bring it up that we did talk about the $30,000 that the city was saving by not going to a special election. And then in turn, myself, we did agree to spend that, so we didn't save it. We are saving 15,000 of it, but we have already spent, 15, but now we have spent 15 of that. So, we talk about saving money, and then we, myself included, have already spent 15 of that. I'd prefer to keep trying to save money as we go, and putting that back into the general fund. Let's see, there was one more thing we talked about tonight was the art space. I did some quick calculations after that. We paid $650,000 for the land, $220,000 out of the housing fund. They received $650,000 in grants. That's around $870,000 that Art Space has received, or actually it's more than that. I didn't add correctly. Anyway, it's more than that Art Space has already received. So I'm really hoping that they move forward with something in this, because that's a lot of money to put forward to not have something shovel ready and in the ground. Let's see, a couple more thank yous to Art Walk. Thank you to the city of Salida and everybody who participated. I myself went down, a little bit rainy, beautiful event. I appreciate the city and all of the artists that were involved in that. Thank you to F Street. The remodel looks wonderful, to David Lady and all his people. Really appreciate that. F Street paving is almost finished, so that looks great also. I really do appreciate all of those things. I would like to ask our treasurer to give our finance committee update. We did a lot of discussions in there and with a lot of detail. I would like to ask our treasurer to give
He's
that.
going to have a treasurer update coming up. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
And our finance committee update, if you would, please. I appreciate that. And then don't forget about the SMT on Thursday night. I did talk to John a couple times this week. That's a huge fundraiser for them at the arcade on Thursday night. And then last thing is, I know Halloween's coming up. Everybody try to be safe, make the trick-or-treat street and trick-or-treating happy and healthy and all of that good stuff. So that's the end of my report.
Councilmember Martin.
Yeah, I wanted to share that tomorrow night, there's going to be a dark sky event from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Valley View Nature Center. I also wanted to give our sustainability committee and department a shout out. I read in our department updates that we received small towns doing big things. So that's really exciting. Yeah, really just want to start highlighting a little bit more like the good things we are doing here, because it's really easy to get lost in the negativity at times. And yeah, our fire department, they're doing a borrow a brush program. So with the winter seasons coming up, they are going to have brushes for people to borrow, and you can clean out your chimney. Just contact them. They also are doing the fire alarms. They're doing free fire alarm installations as well. So if you would like any of that, please contact our fire department. I am curious about the golf course lease. that is maybe being discussed soon-ish. With it being a park now, I am curious if maybe we could get, like for the winter months when it's not being used by the golf course, like if we could have some more activities going on for our community so that it is used then as a park, as it is designated now for zoning. I don't know if I have any support for that from anyone in council. Okay. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to share, we, at Sweeties, we have lost 2 of our employees. They've passed away in this past month. And it's been a bit hard, but I really, really would appreciate if the community, just next time you go out and eat anywhere, any restaurant, just go to the back kitchen and just say thank you. It really means a lot. Our people who passed they're unsung heroes. And just think your kitchen at your restaurant next time you go out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pappenfort.
I attended my first Housing Authority meeting. That was great. I'm going to be on the Finance Committee, and that's what I have tonight.
Thanks. Councilmember Fratelli.
Well, I wanted to start off by, I guess last week or week before, I got some attention for a breast cancer awareness T-shirt that I was wearing at a public event, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to raise awareness. I want to thank Sweeties for making those shirts. Are there still some available?
Yes, we still have about 50.
Wow, that is great. And it's for an amazing cause. The Women's Wellness Connection lost pretty much all their funding from CDC. So now we have small businesses like Sweeties stepping up to help raise funds and awareness. If you are more upset about a word on a shirt than breast cancer, I think we should discuss priorities. But please talk to me about it if you have questions about my shirt or anybody. You will see on the cover of the Mountain Mail today, one of our fine people working at Pinion Real Estate was wearing one as well. So feel free, ask around. But yes, I want to thank Sweeties in particular for making them and providing information on how to get them at the Pink Happy Hour, which is just a great annual fundraiser as well. I also want to mention I stopped by the No Kings rally, and I think they calculated about 1,500 participants. I saw some of you there. It went off without a hitch. I mean, 1,500 people rallying just to show how much they love this country, and not one bad word or fist was thrown or any of these concerns that there initially was. I want to thank Salida PD also for their involvement in just making sure that everybody knew the parade route and everybody disseminated beautifully. It was just, I think Salida, we rally amazingly, and we just do such a good job. I really just give kudos to No Kings. That was this last weekend. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Nacarado.
Nothing.
All I had is Christy Keller and I attended the CML meeting about a week or so ago, which is why I couldn't be at the debate. But it was important for us to show up there. So, and that's all I have tonight. Anything from our attorney? Nothing. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. August city sales tax collections increased by $9,900 or 1% as compared to August 2024. The city's portion of Chaffee County sales tax collections increased by about $33,000 or a 9% increase over August of 2024. In total, sales tax receipts are 3.2% higher for August and 3.3% higher year to date. I'm also happy to report that the general fund balance is favorable. Per Councilmember Fontana, we did have conversations during the Finance Committee meeting this week, mostly around the budget and then specifically around funding for the Chaffee County Community Foundation and also the co-responder program, although the committee chose not to make any recommendations to council on those issues. I also want to take a moment to thank all of staff, but definitely finance staff, for all their work for preparing the budget. And also, their ability to, while our policy is to keep our reserves at 25%, as our finance director explained earlier, and we have consciously made a decision to go below that to ensure that we have appropriate funding for the city. But they worked really hard and they got the reserves up from the original 6.8% up to 12.3%. And I just want to give them a big shout out for that, because I know that was a lot of work and everybody had to give on that. I also want to take a quick moment to thank our city clerk. She orchestrates these meetings on an ongoing basis, and it's a lot of work. Additionally to that, she is in charge of the general election as far as the city goes, and also the special election. So she's doing all this and not missing a beat. These meetings go off really well. So big shout out to City Clerk Christy Keller. So that's the end of my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any department updates?
I do have a couple.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I too want to give some shout outs to our fabulous community. The Sunrise Rotary rallied the troops and put together a donation page, as you all are aware, to raise money for the fireworks for after the Parade of Lights. Within, I think, 2 weeks, they raised over $10,000 for that. So big shout out to Michael Massell. She really spearheaded this. Full Circle Real Estate Group is our title sponsor for $2,500. We had 3 $1,000 sponsors with All Over, Salida Gun Shop, and Excel Energy, and 3 $500 sponsors, Mountain Ventures, Poncha Lumber, and Cravonic Jewelers, and another number of community members who gave, and we are super appreciative of that. The fireworks have been ordered, they will be here on time, and the Salida Fire Department will be lighting up Christmas Mountain again. So thank you, really appreciate it. As Amy mentioned, we were able to go forward to sell bonds for the Highway 50 sewer interceptor line. And I cannot do any of this justice because none of this language actually makes sense to me on what all of this financial stuff. So we went with Janney Montgomery Scott LLC out of Philadelphia. They had the best interest rate. We are able to take advantage of a $1.5 million premium that they offered. So our bonds will stay within the parameters that the city council established. So we're just really excited to move those forward and get that project cranking. We are still waiting on some CDOT permits, so unfortunately we can't go quite yet, but we now have the money to go. So we will do that. An update as well, you all are aware that Union Pacific owns property on the north side of the river, including the old Calco lime processing building. That building has been a big liability for the city, a lot of illegal uses in there, young ones climbing up, doing a bunch of stuff. Union Pacific is moving forward with demolishing the Calco building. We met with the company today who will be starting that process on November 4th of this year. So Election Day has one more thing to add to the fun. They'll start with demolishing the outbuildings, and then next spring, they'll start on the asbestos remediation and the demolishing of the large building. So there's that. For however you feel about the Calco building, that is what it is. And my final update is Jeff Wilson is now a grandpa. A cute little grandbaby. So the staff has some gifts for him.
Oh my goodness.
I know, promoted to grandpa 2025 with some bubblegum cigars, right? And not really for you, but for the baby. For the baby.
Oh my God.
I know, so.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All we have left is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Wow, bubblegum.
Anybody opposed?
I don't even know. I mean, I don't know. I don't
video just before 9.
I know.
Dumpster fire.
I'm like, all right, we're out.
So, yes, well, congratulations. What's his name? I haven't even.
Oh, it's a really cute name.
Gary.